Chapter 1631. Number 9 should have been frozen for at least 4 to 5 seconds, but when he was about to hit the ground, he suddenly moved. He swept his tail and stabbed it into the stage, forcefully stabilizing his body. At the same time, he grabbed Li Fan's body and smashed him to the ground. The ground cracked once again, and Li Fan's body lay inside. Number 9 beat Li Fan up crazily. His fists, legs, and tail attacked Li Fan so hard that he couldn't fight back at all. Jiang Feng looked at the battle below and muttered in his heart. Facing such a troublesome number 9, what should Li Fan do? Could he beat him without exposing his identity? It would probably be very difficult. Even if it was him, if he didn't use Shura transformation, he probably wouldn't be number 9's match. How could he beat him without killing him? Li Fan, I want to see what you can do. Fight. Kill him. The bank boss shouted crazily in front of the TV, and number 9's attacks became fiercer and fiercer. The surrounding ground was shaken to the point that a spider web pattern appeared. Number 9 finally opened her mouth, preparing to add a layer of ice to Li Fan. Right at this moment, Li Fan suddenly leaped up and kicked number 9's chin fiercely with both feet, sending number 9 flying backward as he spat out a stream of frost directly into the sky. Rushing thunder kick. Li Fan used the deer strike technique. His legs were covered in lightning as he continuously kicked number 9's body. Number 9 kept retreating, and his body also entered a slightly numb state. What Li Fan was best at was a series of continuous skills. After he finished kicking, he turned around and kicked. With a white deer reverse kick, the heel of his foot landed on number 9's head, sending him to the ground with a kick. The ground was once again smashed into a pit. Dragon spitting pearl. Li Fan condensed a silver-white ball of light in his hands and pushed it into the crater, hitting number 9's body. Kaboom! The ground trembled, and number 9 finally spat out a large mouthful of blood. This move had injured him quite badly. Although he had steel-like dragon skin, it was useless under Li Fan's devastating attacks. For a martial grandmaster, Li Fan's usage of penetrating force was a piece of cake. Bear King raises the cauldron. Li Fan grabbed number 9's huge body again and lifted it into the air. Following that, Li Fan's arms thickened, and his muscles bulged. Father Bear Pile Driver. Li Fan grabbed number 9 and jumped up high. Then, he turned his head around and smashed it into the ground. Before number 9 could react, Li Fan pulled him out of the ground with a wild bear hug and placed him in front of him. Ape King Cannon. Li Fan took a horse stance and struck out another palm strike. Boom! Number 9's body turned into a cannonball, immediately bouncing off and smashing heavily outside the arena, creating a row of gullies on the ground. Number 9 leaped up and let out a wild roar. But at this time, he had already lost. Come back, number 9. You've already lost. Windsor's voice rang out again, entering number 9's ears. Number 9 immediately lowered his head, and his blood-red eyes regained some clarity. Windsor heaved a sigh of relief. Luckily, number 9 wasn't impulsive. Looks like today's last match of the top 8 has ended with number 9's defeat. The host's voice rang out again, echoing around the entire arena. Number 9 looked at Li Fan a few more times, then slowly turned back into his human form and walked towards his own contestant area. What an exciting battle! Our fighting ring has also become tattered. We have a day to rest tonight. Let's look forward to tomorrow's semi-finals and finals. This is the Huaxiao Martial Arts Competition. Thank you, contestants, for your exciting battles. Thank you, Commander-in-Chief Jiang, for your commentary. Thank you, everyone, for watching. In front of the television, the bank boss had already committed suicide. Li Fan walked towards his resting room, but a staff member stopped him. Mr. Li, your room has been changed. Please head to the 5th floor. This is your room card. The staff member passed the room card to Li Fan. Li Fan was a little puzzled. Why did they change rooms every day? He came to the room on the 5th floor and went in to take a look. He realized that it was a very luxurious suite with extremely modern facilities. It was almost at the standard of a 6-star hotel. The conference is really extravagant, but wool comes from the sheep. Thinking of the daily ticket money and the online broadcasting rights, Li Fan knew that the organizing committee must have earned a lot this time. But no matter how good the house was, it was meaningless to Li Fan. He sat on the sofa and immediately closed his eyes to regulate his breathing. At this moment, the phone rang in Li Fan's room. Strange, who is looking for me? And how did they find my room? Li Fan saw a remote control beside him. There was a button on it, so he pressed it. The television screen in front of him lit up and a man appeared on the screen. This man looked to be in his 40s and was a little balding. He sat in front of the table with his hands propped up. With a little arrogance, he looked at Li Fan with a serious face. Nice to meet you. I'm the chief of the Martial Arts Bureau. You can call me Chief Nyo. After the other party finished speaking, he seemed to be waiting for Li Fan to say some flattering words. But Li Fan just sat there and just shrugged his shoulders. Oh, Chief Nyo. What's the matter? Chief Nyo frowned slightly. He seemed to be very dissatisfied with Li Fan's attitude. What kind of attitude is this? This is the chief of the Martial Arts Bureau. There was a bespectacled man who looked like a secretary on the screen. He immediately reprimanded Li Fan. Is this how you treat your superior? You really don't know etiquette. This is interesting. Li Fan chuckled. I'm not working under you. Why should I be respectful to you? So what if you're a leader? Don't forget that you're also a leader elected by the people. Why, are you putting on airs in front of the people? Don't talk nonsense. The secretary was about to reprimand him, but Chief Nyo waved his hand and stopped him. You are indeed not my subordinate. But since you're a member of the martial arts world, you should be under the control of our Martial Arts Bureau. Otherwise, the Martial Arts Bureau will not recognize the legal status of your Seven Knights Villa and will not issue you a Martial Master Qualification Certificate. Martial Master Qualification Certificate. This was a very strange method that Chief Nyo thought of. As the saying goes, a new official makes 3 changes. After Chief Nyo took office, he immediately proposed a few changes to the current martial arts world. The first was the establishment of the heroic martial sect. It was supposed to promote the orthodox Chinese martial arts. But the sect leader, Nyo Shuyan, was a weirdo who practiced Japanese martial arts. The second change was to regulate the status of each sect. All sects must register with the Martial Arts Bureau. As for the old sects, a restriction order was issued. Those who did not register within a month would be disqualified and the sect would be disbanded. And the last change was to give the martial artists the so-called Martial Master Qualification Certificate. Chapter 1632. This so-called Martial Master Qualification Certificate is actually very similar to the Marvel World's hero registration method. Every Huaxia martial artist, whose strength had reached perfection, had to go to the headquarters to register their identity. If they do not have an identity, they will be regarded as an illegal martial artist and will be wanted by the Imperial Army. Then, their cultivation will be forcefully dispersed. After the registration of martial artists, they will also be subject to the country's control. Every year, martial artists will have a score. If they violate the country's laws and regulations, other than being sentenced, they will also have their points deducted according to the headquarters rules. After deducting 12 points, their qualification certificate will be cancelled and they will become an illegal martial artist. Li Fan does not know whether he should say this or not. Martial artists have superhuman strength and must be controlled. This is without a doubt. But in the headquarters rules, there is a rule that registered martial artists must unconditionally obey the country's management. This made Li Fan a little uncomfortable. As a Chinese martial artist, you should obey our headquarters orders. Bureau Chief Nyo reminded Li Fan, once your qualification certificate is cancelled, I think, you should know what will happen. Are you threatening me? Li Fan slightly squinted his eyes and looked at Bureau Chief Nyo on the screen. I am just reminding you. Bureau Chief Nyo said, I will naturally not care what you like to do. But this time, you must obey the headquarters orders. I wonder what our dear headquarter is going to give me this time? Li Fan decided to ask first, but he felt that he had already guessed it. Tomorrow's semifinal, you must let Nyo Shuyan win. Bureau Chief Nyo ordered. Fake fight? You are all from the heroic martial sect. This is not fake fight. Bureau Chief Niu said very seriously, we are all from the same sect. It is not good to fight to the death. Why don't we just let Niu Shuiyan win? Since it is like this, why not let me win? Li Fan looked at Bureau Chief Niu with a smile that is not a smile. Niu Shuiyan is after all the sect leader of the heroic martial sect. If he wins, countless people will rush to the heroic martial sect. At that time, the prestige of the heroic martial sect will be greatly boosted, which will be very beneficial to the martial arts world and even to China. Li Fan, I have also carefully thought and researched to find this method. This is also for the good of the martial arts world. If you really understand the martial arts world, you should not say such words. Li Fan reminded him, to every martial artist, a duel is sacred. I will never agree to such a request of yours. Go find someone else. You don't know how to appreciate. The secretary couldn't help but curse, how dare you resist the leader's order? Let me emphasize again, I am not a subordinate of the headquarters. Your orders have no effect on me. Li Fan rolled his eyes, and you guys are too whimsical. Even if I admit defeat and let Niu Shuiyan enter the finals, do you think he can win? At that time, Murong-ing will win, and will Niu competition. That, Bureau Chief Niu reminded Li Fan, moreover, this is not something you should be concerned about. This is really funny. You come over and inexplicably order me and tell me that this matter does not need my concern. Who do you think you are? My father? What? Do you feel like being a father? Do you think that everyone in the world is your son? Let me tell you, other people may be afraid of you, but I am not. Li Fan, are you really lawless? Bureau Chief Niu's voice became colder. I have always been a law-abiding citizen. Li Fan chuckled. However, according to the law, you do not have the authority to ask me to do anything. Instead, it is you who made such a rude request. It really makes people doubt your standard. Li Fan, I am advising you now. Bureau Chief Niu became a lot stricter. He seemed to have a trace of hostility towards Li Fan. If you insist on it, you will have to bear the consequences. Fine, I want to see what the consequences will be. Li Fan disdainfully said, moreover, you are really thinking too much. Let's not talk about whether Murong-ing can defeat Martial Emperor Liao Ju. Even if she wins, will she admit defeat to that idiot Niu Shuiyan? You have underestimated a martial artist's sense of honor. Even if Murong-ing dies, she will not follow your bastard's thoughts. Unable to communicate, Bureau Chief Niu was very dissatisfied with Li Fan's attitude. Since we do not agree with each other, you will have to bear the consequences. Thank you for the reminder. The road of Jianghu is long, let's wait and see. Li Fan did not spoil this Bureau Chief Niu at all. As the saying goes, a few mice spoil a pot of soup. It was precisely because of people like Bureau Chief Niu that everyone became more and more disappointed with the system. The sins of Bureau Chief Niu alone could offset the merits and efforts of people like General Ran and the others. You rejected him just like that, aren't you afraid of getting into trouble? The voice of the Holy Maiden came into his ears. Li Fan turned his head and saw the Holy Maiden wearing a black gauze dress. She was standing on the balcony with her arms crossed, looking at him and laughing. What are you afraid of? At most we will just fight. Li Fan curled his lips. The task that General Ran gave me was to participate as a disciple of the heroic martial sect. He did not have any other requirements. What Bureau Chief Niu? He came out and gave orders. Why would I care about him? He is still the little tyrant from back then, that's why you need my help. The Holy Maiden winked at Li Fan. I reckon there is no hope for me to be the champion. To actually meet a martial emperor who practices the true immortal arts, this is really unexpected. It doesn't matter, there is me and Murong-ing to deal with him. Li Fan said, the list for tomorrow's finals has already been decided. I will fight with Niu Shuiyan, and Murong-ing will deal with Martial Emperor. Aren't you worried about your fiancée? The Holy Maiden could not help but ask. She is very strong. Li Fan had never doubted that. If only I could be as strong as her, I would be able to compete with a martial emperor. Your strength has improved very quickly too. Li Fan was a little curious. How did you practice it? This is a set of demonic techniques that my sect master has improved, and it is officially named the Invincible Divine Technique. Damn it, it reminds me of Jin Yong's Invincible Divine Technique. Li Fan could not help but roll his eyes. Li Wei really knows how to copy others' words. It's different. This set of demonic techniques is very domineering. The Holy Maiden said, the speed of cultivation is extremely fast, more than 10 times that of ordinary people. However, the price is also very high, and your lifespan will be shortened by half. Damn it. You actually practiced such an evil technique too? I am very weak. The Holy Maiden said, so, if I can contribute my life to the sect, I will be very happy too. This is a sick belief. Li Fan reprimanded. An unhealthy belief is a cult. Chapter 1633. This is the first time Li Fan said such serious words to the Saintess, causing the Saintess to immediately frown. Isn't this a bit too much? I was born in solipsism since young, and I am also the Saintess. Is it really okay for you to say such words in front of me? I am only speaking the truth. Whether you accept it or not, it is up to you. Li Fan shrugs his shoulders. He does not care if the Saintess accepts it or not. He still has to express his point of view. Solipsism's method is too much. Li Fan does not like it. Using the lives of followers to fulfill the dream of the church, this method is simply too absurd. Forget it, it is useless to talk about this with you. Let's talk about tomorrow's plan. The Saintess starts to use voice transmission to chat with Li Fan. This way, it is more confidential. I will not run. Li Fan emphasizes, I am the little overlord, Li Fan. How can I run when I cannot win? In other words, even if I run, once I use the dragon traveling 9 heavens, who can catch up to me? To target martial artists, China has specially designed an energy detection device. The Saintess points at Li Fan. Even if you can hide your body's aura, you will not be able to perfectly hide your energy. For Huaxia, your energy value is like walking around with a huge searchlight. So exaggerated? Li Fan thought to himself, this is more like a surveillance system. Moreover, tomorrow, you should have a big battle. At that time, you will consume a lot of internal energy. Can you guarantee that you can easily use your dragon traveling 9 heavens? Therefore, we must have a plan B. What's your plan? I have already arranged it. I am only here to inform you. I hope that you can listen to my command tomorrow. All right, then we will see each other tomorrow. After fighting for a day, Li Fan is a bit tired. After all, he is still a human and not an immortal who does not know exhaustion. I wonder if a martial emperor would feel tired when fighting? Especially when fighting against a powerful opponent like number 9. Not only does it consume physical strength, it also consumes mental strength. Speaking of which, that number 9, if he were to fight with all his might, would he have the confidence to defeat him? Li Fan pondered for a moment. He might not be able to defeat him, but he could still kill him if he wanted to. Furthermore, he still had a trump card like Heavenly Thunder Transformation. Are you going to sleep? Do I need to sleep with you? The Saintess winked at Li Fan. Looking at Li Fan's dumbfounded expression, she smiled and walked out. This woman is really a vixen. Li Fan said that they had lived together for so long, but why didn't he feel that she had such a side to her? Good night, ladies. Li Fan said to the air, then fell on the bed and fell asleep. While Li Fan was sleeping, Liang Ru had already set off for Li Family Island. After competing with Murong Ing, the little lass deeply felt that she was not good enough. Taking advantage of the holiday, she decided to go to Li Family Island to train hard. Coincidentally, a girl named Wang Yue from 7 Nights Villa was about to leave. Liang Ru took the recommendation letter that Dragoness gave her and went back with Wang Yue. Tonight, there was someone who was not in the mood to sleep. Niu Shuiyan was somewhat unhappy with Bureau Chief Niu in the video call. Second uncle, didn't you say that I was going to be the champion? Why did you suddenly tell me that there was a change of plans today? Don't be in a hurry to blame me. Things are indeed out of control. If Niu Shuiyan was a bit unhappy, Then Bureau Chief Niu was especially unhappy. Li Fan disobeyed my order and did not want you to advance to the finals. He is an idiot. Niu Shuiyan scolded. This scum has a problem with his brain. He actually dared to disobey your order. It seems like he doesn't want to stay in China anymore. After Niu Shuiyan finished scolding, he contemptuously said, however, with my ability, I can easily defeat that famed fishing fellow. He did not admit defeat because he is retarded. If he obediently admitted defeat, at least he would not be injured. Now, I want to tear off one of his arms. That's fine. Teach him a lesson. Bureau Chief Niu nodded. This kind of uncontrollable person, leaving him in the system will only cause us trouble. Get rid of him, this task will be handed over to you. Okay, second uncle, leave it to me. Niu Shuiyan hurriedly said, oh right, last time you said that you would promote me to the headquarters as the honorary chairman. Is this still effective? As long as you win the championship, entering the headquarters will naturally not be a problem. Easy. Niu Shuiyan sneered twice. He seemed to have already seen Li Fan kneeling in front of him, beaten black and blue, begging for mercy. You should not participate in this kind of activity. In the Martial Emperor's lounge, you stood in front of him and said, you should come with me to find the whereabouts of the flower. I have no one by my side that I can use. The Martial Emperor declined, even if I want to help you find it, the sea of people is vast. When I take the championship of this competition and become the alliance leader of the martial world, I will naturally be able to command the heroes of the martial world and let them help me find the whereabouts of the flower. You frowned. Although what the Martial Emperor said made sense, he still felt a little uncomfortable when the other party rejected his opinion. You should remember your identity. What identity do I have? You are our immortal slave. Is that so? The Martial Emperor laughed. A golden divine dragon suddenly flew out from behind him and squeezed into the suite. With a claw, it pressed Yu's body under its claw. What are you doing? Yu's face was filled with fear. He struggled for a moment but was actually unable to break free from the Martial Emperor's control. My strength has long surpassed yours. Immortal slave? That doesn't exist. The Martial Emperor looked at you in disdain. Don't forget, in the sky beyond heaven's law, the strong are respected. Don't be arrogant. You ridiculed the Martial Emperor. Our sky beyond heaven already expected that there would be a guy like you. So the true immortal arts is flawed. If not for our sky beyond heaven's higher-ups to help you remove the hidden danger, when this true immortal arts reaches the third level, it will backfire on you. Is that so? The Martial Emperor was not the least bit worried. Do you think that my 100 years of martial arts training was for nothing? It's just a small flaw. Under my powerful cultivation, it has long been suppressed. How is that possible? You was in despair. However, there is no conflict between you and me. If you are willing to cooperate with me, I will also cooperate with you. Li Fan is our common enemy. Between you and me, we should join hands and get rid of him first, right? As the Martial Emperor spoke, he snapped his fingers. The golden dragon lifted its claw from Yu's body. What exactly are you planning? You looked at the Martial Emperor in confusion. A trace of fear appeared in his eyes. Chapter 1634. This world is very big. The Martial Emperor said to Jade, since you want me to be your spokesperson, then you have to agree to one of my requests. In this world, mark out a region for me. In this region, I have absolute authority. Those who want to live can come to my territory and receive my protection. And I will guarantee that they will not leave this region and form their own kingdom. Your sky beyond sky can enjoy the bright space outside. Wait, let me ask. Jade did not say anything and closed his eyes, as if he was communicating with someone. How big do you want? Jade suddenly opened his eyes and asked. Just the imperial capital. The Martial Emperor had already thought of a place, that is where the dragon vein of China is located. It is suitable for him to make an independent kingdom. All right, but your population cannot exceed 1 million. Also, you cannot recruit any martial artists. After communicating, Jade made a request to the Martial Emperor. Alright. The martial emperor nodded. 1,000,000 people, not too much, not too little, just right. Also, our Sky Beyond Sky will send an adjutant to your city to supervise your citizens. Don't worry, we only want to see if you have any intention of rebelling. If you do, we will definitely not be merciful. If not, you can continue to rule. Our Sky Beyond Sky is also willing to acknowledge your existence and treat you as a part of Sky Beyond Sky. Also, we will plant a barrier around your territory. This barrier will restrict you from coming out. It will also ensure that our Sky Beyond Sky can smoothly land on Earth. Since this guy has already broken through the trap and shackles of the true immortal technique, Jade and Sky Beyond Sky have no better way to restrict him. But if he can make such a deal with him, it would not be bad. In any case, his true immortal technique can at most allow him to train to the upper immortal level. In the end, he will not be able to fight against Sky Immortals. He can only submit to the rule of Sky Immortals. When the time comes, he can do whatever he wants, as long as he helps Sky Beyond Sky complete the plan to expel the humans. Alright. The martial emperor did not object. When he made the deal with the other party, he was actually testing the other party's trump card. There is a saying in the art of war, know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. Furthermore, he knew too little about the heavens beyond heaven. He only knew that they were divided into the heavenly immortal, the upper immortal and the lower immortal. Below that were the immortal slaves who worked like slaves. However, why would a powerful being like the realm beyond heavens avoid humans? If they really attacked, how could the humans withstand their attacks? According to Jade, the realm beyond heaven had once made an agreement with the humans. As long as humans were present, the realm beyond heaven could not invade their land and space. Thus, they could only hole up in the outer world where resources were limited. However, the martial emperor felt that this was unlikely. Now that the matter concerned the survival of the sky beyond heavens, these people were not easy to deal with. Why would they reach an agreement with him? The martial emperor had his own guesses. The sky beyond heaven was definitely afraid of something about humans. That was why they did not come down when humans were around. Moreover, when he said that he would establish a regional city, they would have to set up a barrier. They were already a group of ordinary people. Could they still pose a threat to the powerful grandmasters? In that case, rather than spying on humans, it would be better to say that they were isolating humans perfectly. There was something fishy about this, and it became a bargaining chip for the martial emperor. Since everyone has reached an agreement, I will naturally complete the human extermination plan for the sky beyond heaven. The martial emperor used both kindness and power to appease Jade. However, you also know that Li Fan and his 7 Knights Villa are a powerful opponent. If we don't eliminate them, I will not be able to fulfill the wish of the sky beyond heaven. Alright, since that's the case, you can finish this match. Jade could only take a step back. But don't forget, the human extermination plan must be completed quickly. Otherwise, you know what the consequences will be. Everyone is cooperating now. It is mutually beneficial. I will naturally do my best to help you. However, don't threaten me. If you threaten me again, you will also know what the consequences will be. The martial emperor and Jade each had their own ulterior motives. The two of them began to discuss the plan for tomorrow. Among the 4 semi-finalists, only Murong-ing was very quiet. She meditated alone for the whole night. It was unknown whether it was because she was angry with Li Fan or for some other reason, but she did not come to find Li Fan. The next morning, the competition venue had already been renovated. After Li Fan had his breakfast, he once again came to the contestants' seating area according to the committee's request, preparing to participate in today's semi-finals. The surrounding stands were still filled with people. There were heads everywhere, densely packed. At a glance, it was impossible to tell who was who. The 4 of them gained fans overnight. The support group pulled up banners and shouted. Cheers rose and fell one after another. In comparison, Li Fan's fans were much fewer. After all, Li Fan did not have any fame, nor did he have any style. His fighting style was not as flashy as the martial emperor, not as beautiful as Murong-ing, and not as straightforward as Niu Xuan. However, today's opening match was Li Fan against Niu Xuan. The two of them stood on the arena according to the requirements and looked at each other. Welcome to the semifinals. As usual, we have invited a professional commentator, Commander Jiang Feng. The host used his pleasant voice and continued to sit on the high platform, explaining the competition. As everyone can see, our arena has been restored to its original state overnight. This also makes us look forward to today's few great gods. What kind of exciting competition will they present to us? Everyone, please take a look. The first two contestants of the semifinals are already standing on the stage. They are actually disciples of the heroic martial sect. Let me introduce them to everyone again. The one on the left is the elite disciple of the heroic martial sect, Li Yun. Although he is young, his martial arts are already very exquisite. However, the one standing opposite him is the sect leader of the heroic martial sect, Niu Xuan. I am really looking forward to today's competition. It is actually the two experts of the heroic martial sect who will decide the winner. Commander Jiang, who do you think will win? Oh, Li Yun. Jiang Feng was usually vague, but this time he directly said that someone would win, causing the host to be surprised. But why is that? Didn't Commander Jiang also praise sect leader Niu? Why do you think Li Yun will win this time? Because Li Yun is stronger. Jiang Feng's words made Niu Xuan, who was standing below, frown. This slippery guy, he admitted defeat yesterday, but today he said such words to disgust me? That's fine. I will use my fists to let these slippery people understand what true power is. Li Yun, your battle ends here. Niu Xuan tightened his belt, then pointed at Li Fan, extended his thumb and pointed downwards. Chapter 1635. Before the fight started, Niu Xuan had already humiliated Li Fan. The surrounding audience was shouting Niu Xuan's name. They liked Niu Xuan's arrogance and domineeringness. This was the demeanor and attitude an expert should have. Whatever enemy, whatever opponent, just knock them down with one punch and let them eat shit. Our contestant Niu provoked his own sect's disciple the moment he came up. Although this is a loss of the demeanor a sect leader should have, it seems to be welcomed by the audience. Oh, that's right, they love this domineering Niu Xuan. Since that's the case, I think it's better to call sect leader Niu Xuan Little Overlord. Jiang Feng suddenly said with a smile. When Li Fan heard this, he thought that Jiang Feng was definitely doing this on purpose. He was the best at fanning the flames, and now he was displaying it to the extreme. No matter what, Niu Xuan's emotions had already been stirred up by him. I will defeat you in 3 moves. Niu Xuan pointed 3 fingers at Li Fan. Today, right here, I will tear off your disguise as an expert. Then I will have to trouble sect leader. Li Fan was neither servile nor overbearing. He first cupped his fists and bowed to Niu Xuan, explaining the rules of the competition. However, Niu Xuan's appearance did remind Li Fan of his past self. The competition bell has rung. The first semi-final match has begun. As the host announced, Niu Xuan suddenly moved. He said that he would defeat Li Fan in 3 moves, so he directly threw a straight punch. With an indomitable force, it directly rushed towards Li Fan like a flood. The huge fist aura it carried seemed like it was going to drown Li Fan. The surrounding stone tiles on the ground began to crack again, as if they could not withstand the pressure of the fist aura. But Li Fan stood there, looking at Niu Xuan's fist coming towards him. Just when Niu Xuan's fist was about to land on Li Fan's face, Li Fan's shoulder shook and his fist suddenly moved. Fight the tiger! Taking advantage of the fact that Niu Xuan's old strength had weakened and he had yet to generate new strength, Li Fan's fist landed solidly on his lower abdomen. Bang! Niu Xuan's body curled up like a shrimp as he flew out and landed heavily on the ground. The surrounding audience was dumbfounded. What was going on? The domineering Niu Xuan from a few days ago was defeated in 1 move? I was too careless. Niu Xuan jumped up from the ground again. Then he directly flew forward and suddenly kicked Li Fan with a huge force. He attacked Li Fan again. However, Li Fan still did not dodge. When Niu Xuan kicked over, Li Fan leaned to the side and avoided his kick. At the same time, Li Fan wrapped his arms around Niu Xuan's waist and used the force of his kick to fall behind him. Subdue bear. Bang. What a beautiful back throw. It was as classic as a textbook. Especially when he borrowed the force, Niu Xuan's head smashed into the ground and he fainted for a moment. Oh my god, sect leader Niu actually suffered 2 moves in a row. The host could see some clues and could not help but exclaim, "This contestant Li Yun is not simple." Or could it be that sect leader Niu intentionally let him have 2 moves? Didn't sect leader Niu say that 3 moves will determine the winner? Jiang Feng chuckled and said, "There is still 1 more move and the winner will be decided soon." While speaking, Niu Xuan pulled out his head and jumped up again. Then, he glared at Li Fan and transmitted a message to him. "Li Fan, you dare to disobey orders." "What orders?" Li Fan crossed his arms. "I am a special agent of the State Security 9th Bureau. The only mission I have accepted is to participate in this martial arts competition as a disciple of the heroic martial sect. The headquarters must have given you an order to lose to me." Niu Xuan roared in disbelief. "Idiot." Li Fan ridiculed. "You and the headquarters are both idiots. Especially you, since you are a martial artist. If you want to win, you must rely on your own fists. If you can't do it, then get out of the stage. You are courting death." Niu Xuan roared. "From today onwards, you are the enemy of the headquarters. And I will use my strongest power to completely defeat you. Then I will send you to the prison that belongs to you." With that, Niu Xuan suddenly jumped up high into the air. He raised his left hand and condensed a strong pressure. Volcano-level righteous fist? Li Fan looked at Niu Xuan, who was blocking the sunlight, and instantly thought of Takeda. Japan's #1 martial arts master. This move was his lifetime's ultimate skill. In order to master this move, he did not know how many years he had painstakingly trained in Mount Fuji. Even away from his family, away from his own life, he trained this move day after day. Only then was he able to perfectly master the volcano-level righteous fist. And this Niu Xuan only relied on the AI chip to learn this move. How could he understand the true meaning of this condensed fist? Prepare to die. Volcano-level righteous fist. Niu Xuan's roar resounded throughout the entire arena. Everyone in the audience was moved by his imposing manner. After being modified by the dragon chip, he possessed strength that surpassed that of Takeda. The dragon AI chip activated, and the flame energy hidden in Niu Xuan's body awakened. This is the mutant's power that the headquarters secretly injected into Niu Xuan, the flame ability. Niu Xuan's fist was also completely wrapped in a crimson flame. The pressure became more and more terrifying, causing people's hearts to palpitate. "I feel like a volcano is about to erupt." The host wiped the sweat off his forehead. "Oh my god, so scary." Jiang Feng did not say anything. At this time, Li Fan should be thinking the same thing. "Li Fan, you are dead meat." Niu Xuan issued a final ultimatum to Li Fan, but Li Fan stood there, looking at the incoming fist, unmoved. Erupt. The power in Niu Xuan's fist had been compressed to the limit. He suddenly punched at Li Fan below. Volcano eruption. A wave of blazing flame energy directly transformed into a huge flaming fist. It was like a punch from a giant, descending from the sky and smashing towards Li Fan. This fist instantly reached Li Fan's head, and in the next second, it would completely crush him into minced meat. However, Li Fan still did not move until the flaming fist was less than a centimeter away from him. The scorching heat had already started to burn his hair. At this moment, the world around Li Fan seemed to slow down. He raised his left fist and directly punched out. Lightning. Supreme Dragon Fist. It was as if a bolt of lightning had streaked across the sky, and the huge flaming fist immediately disintegrated. Li Fan was unscathed, and only maintained his punching posture. However, a fist-sized dent appeared on Niu Xuan's chest. Chapter 1636. Niu Xuan spat out a mouthful of blood. His body flew away and landed outside the ring. His eyes rolled back and he fainted. What a powerful punch, Jiang Feng mumbled to himself. He didn't have time to explain. All he could see was Li Fan's fist. In his mind, he could only think of the punch Li Fan had just used. It was a sure kill punch, and also a punch that would decide the victory. Number 9 was sitting on the platform. She watched Li Fan's punch with Windsor. So strong. Number 9 finally spat out these 2 words. Oh, I've known you for so long, and this is the first time you've said someone is strong. Windsor couldn't help but laugh. He is strong, but he is not him. What do you mean? Nothing. Number 9 did not say it explicitly, but he could feel that this was his true lord of genes. The one he had defeated on the island before, was it possible that he was also a clone of some sort? Interesting punch. Emperor Wu crossed his arms and commented on Li Fan's punch. Is this really the power of a human? Jade still couldn't believe it. Impossible. He must have used some method. You underestimate the martial fighters. Emperor Wu warned Jade. If you don't want to lose, you should face your opponent. This was also a lesson that the martial emperor had learned. As a martial emperor, he had never lost. But if he lost, he couldn't lose in the same position. He has become stronger. Murong Ying stood up from the contestant's seat and tidied up her black cheongsam. Murong Ying's cheongsam had a red phoenix embroidered on it. On the back, there were 2 big words, Murong. This was the glory of Murong Mountain Villa, and now it was being carried by Murong Ying. The first semi-final match ended with Li Yun's victory. Our leader Niu has fainted. The doctor sent him to the infirmary, but he is fine. He will only be unconscious for a while. The host announced the result of the competition. I really didn't expect that contestant Li would actually defeat her own sect leader in this martial arts tournament. I wonder if the heroic martial sect would consider changing to a new sect leader? In front of the TV, Chief Niu had already smashed the TV remote control. Immediately put a ban on Li Fan. Bureau Chief Niu growled. Cancel his martial master qualification certificate and order the royal army to arrest him. Inform Jiang Feng to capture Li Fan as soon as the martial arts tournament ends. Don't let him leave the venue. The leader was furious, and the secretary hurriedly conveyed his message. When Jiang Feng received the news, he secretly smiled proudly. Everything went as he expected. Niu Xuan successfully pushed the trap, and Li Fan fell into it. In this way, the first and third pages of the true immortal tactics would be his. He would find the second page sooner or later. When he cultivated the perfected immortal art and obtained the power of a martial monarch, would the pugilistic world still be able to resist him? Everything is ready. The report of the royal guards could be heard through the earpiece. Jiang Feng's expression did not change as he continued to watch the next match. Li Fan returned to the contestants' seats. The holy maiden had snuck in without him noticing and was sitting on the sofa waiting for him. The fight was very satisfying. It was indeed decided by 3 moves. The saintess winked at Li Fan. He asked for it. Li Fan said bluntly, "You've tarnished the honor of the martial arts competition, yet you still think you've mastered the volcano spirit fist that surpasses Takeda? What a retard. Didn't he master the fire mutation ability? Why do you think his fist technique is not as good as Takeda? He doesn't understand the true meaning of this punch." Li Fan explained, Takeda lives in volcanoes all year round, so he knows what a real volcano looks like. Although Mount Fuji was an extinct volcano, it still contained a huge amount of power. What Takeda was doing was using his fists to release the power that had been accumulated for thousands of years. Therefore, Takeda's fist didn't need any flame. Just the momentum was enough to kill Niu Xuan. So that's how it is. It seems that my understanding of martial arts is not as good as yours. Listening to you, it seems that you're better than me in other aspects. Of course, it's because you're stupid. The saintess covered her mouth and chuckled, which made Li Fan unhappy. I'm not stupid. It's just that there are too many smart people around me, so I can't stand out. Li Fan rolled his eyes, then sat next to the saintess and looked outside. Next is the battle between Murong Ying and Wu Huang. I don't know how it will turn out. Are you worried about your little wife? Of course I'm worried, but her character doesn't like me worrying about her. Li Fan knew Murong-ing very well, even more than he knew himself. The saintess sat next to him with a bit of jealousy in her eyes. In that case, you can watch it carefully. I'm going to watch it carefully and use it as a reference for my future battles. You martial arts fanatic. The saintess was very helpless. Li Fan was a complete martial arts fanatic. He was so obsessed with martial arts that he forgot everything else. Let's not talk anymore, they're fighting. In the arena, Liao Ju had already started fighting with Murong-ing. Both of them were proficient in materializing energy. Wu Huang's golden divine dragon was 10 meters long, flying and slapping, extremely powerful. As for Murong-ing, she directly condensed a phoenix. Although it was only 5 meters long, it was astonishingly big, and it was fighting with Wu Huang's divine dragon. She's clearly just a martial arts practitioner. How can she have such a perfect method of condensing energy? You sat in Wu Huang's contestant seating. When he saw this scene, he was very confused. Although it looked like the divine dragon was suppressing the phoenix, Wu Huang didn't have it easy. He was already frowning, because Murong-ing was carrying 2 swords and leaping towards him. This Murong-ing was multitasking. While urging the phoenix to fight, she could also use her powerful dual sword technique. The martial emperor immediately made the divine dragon swing its tail and block in front of him. Shua! Murong-ing instantly appeared behind the martial emperor. The hem of her cheongsam swayed slightly, revealing her fair thighs. She held 2 swords in her hands, and the divine dragon's tail was actually forcefully cut off. Damn it! The martial emperor thought to himself that things were not looking good. This Murong-ing was multitasking and actually attacked him in the dark. Although he was protected by the divine dragon, the martial emperor was not completely spared. 2 bloody sword wounds were imprinted on his chest. The divine dragon roared and suddenly opened its mouth, spitting out a golden bolt of lightning, directly smashing the phoenix into pieces. The remaining energy of the phoenix flew back to Murong-ing's body, covering her body with a layer of golden red radiance. Chapter 1637. A battle between dragons and phoenixes. A martial monarch's divine dragon was naturally stronger, but Murong-ing's dual swords were absolutely terrifying. Even a martial monarch who had cultivated the perfected immortal art would not dare to directly face Murong-ing's dual swords. This battle is really too exciting. The host exclaimed, to be able to watch such a battle, my life has not been in vain. I even forgot that this was just a martial arts competition, but a battle of magical powers. It is indeed very exciting. Both of them are absolute powerhouses. Their battle can be called an unparalleled battle. Jiang Feng thought to himself, is the perfected immortal art of a martial monarch really only this much power? Or is it that Murong-ing's yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique is too powerful that it can even kill an immortal? Jiang Feng thought carefully and felt that it should be the latter. According to his information, Li Fan and Murong-ing created this yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique to kill the 9-tailed divine fox. When the 9-tailed divine fox went berserk, the 2 of them used this sword technique to perfectly suppress the fox. This was the immortal slaying sword technique. Therefore, even if a martial monarch had cultivated to this level, he would still be defeated by Murong-ing's dual swords. This woman Murong-ing was really scary. She actually managed to cultivate the yin-yang dragon and phoenix sword technique with her own strength. Multitasking was easy to say, but it was extremely difficult to actually put it into practice. This was not a problem that could be solved by drawing a circle with the left hand and drawing a square with the right hand. This was something that required 2 people to think in the same brain. Even with Jiang Feng's talent, he could not achieve this step of Murong-ing. If he wanted to learn this sword technique, there was only one way. That was to kill Murong-ing and absorb her sword technique. But to kill this woman was easier said than done. Jiang Feng could not help but laugh bitterly. When he saw Murong-ing and Li Fan, he really felt that since there was a Yu in the world, why would there be a Liang in the world? Moreover, they were a pair of male and female bullying others. The descendants of the Murong family are indeed interesting. The martial emperor suddenly controlled the golden dragon. He floated in the air and looked at Murong Ing, who was holding two swords in front of him. But it's a pity. Back then, the people of the Murong family created a set of Murong sword technique, and Murong Bo displayed this sword technique to the extreme. He mocked Murong Ing. In the end, when it comes to you, you've even thrown away your own family's swordsmanship and practiced a set of swordsmanship created by someone else. How pathetic. You don't deserve to have Murong's name printed on your back. Li Fan almost cursed it out loud. What the fuck? The martial emperor claimed to be the emperor of the martial arts world, but now he came to the arena to play tricks? If it was him, he would definitely be thick-skinned enough to fight the martial monarch. Murong, on the other hand, she was too proud. You don't have the qualifications to evaluate my Murong family's swordsmanship. One of the swords in Murong Ying's hand fell apart, leaving only the other one. She held it in one hand and held it in front of her. This was the starting stance of Murong sword technique. Li Fan was so worried that the other half of his hair was about to turn white. Murong Ing really obediently fell into the trap. The Murong family's swordsmanship focused on using the sword to control the qi. But with just the sword qi, could he defeat the martial emperor who condensed energy into a divine dragon? No matter what, he cultivated the true immortal technique after all, and his strength was at the lower immortal realm. This is more like a successor of the Murong family. Although the martial emperor had set a trap, he felt deep respect for the opponent who was willing to follow his plan and display Murong sword technique. I have never admired anyone, but I think you are not bad. How about this? If you are willing to cripple your own martial arts, I can marry you as my empress and let you rule the harem in my kingdom. How about it? Retard. Murong Ing very directly rejected the martial emperor's words. You can go die now. Hee, I will use my own strength to let you understand. The martial emperor said as he continued to urge his divine dragon. This 10-meter-long divine dragon suddenly began to stretch its body. Very quickly, its length doubled and it coiled around the entire venue, causing the audience to exclaim in surprise. This is not some 3D special effect. This is a real dragon. Although it is condensed out of energy, it is still very cool. A lot of people could not help but take out their phones and began to take pictures. In China, dragons are the real auspicious sign. Go on Weibo and find someone to repost it, you will definitely get lucky. A group of people crazily posted on Weibo, while on the other side, the divine dragon had already slammed down its claw and directly charged towards Murong Ing. This should be the real Dragon King seal. But Murong Ing did not dodge. She held her sword and stood there, letting the dragon claw fall in front of her. I'll let you see the real Murong sword technique. As Murong Ing spoke, she suddenly swung her sword and a sword qi soared into the sky. This sword qi directly condensed into a fiery red phoenix, instantly piercing through the divine dragon's claw, directly twisting one of its claws into pieces. This can also be condensed into a shape? The martial emperor was a little surprised. My goodness, this Murong Ing is not simple. He had indeed underestimated her. Her talent was probably even higher than his. Impossible, I am the strongest martial artist in the world, and I will be the strongest immortal in the future. How could someone surpass me? This is impossible. 100 birds paying homage to the phoenix. Murong Ing brandished her sword once again, and 100 flaming birds soared into the sky, directly passing by the divine dragon and flying towards the martial emperor who was unable to retaliate. The gigantic divine dragon used its body to wrap around the martial emperor, blocking the flaming birds for him. These flaming birds continuously exploded on the dragon's body, setting off balls of flames that continuously weakened the divine dragon's strength. Even if I use Murong sword qi, I am still a martial artist. Murong Ying's voice rang out. The martial emperor turned his head in shock and saw that Murong Ing was standing behind him. And you are like a magician. With that said, Murong Ying's sword had already pierced through Liao Ju's shoulder. Good. Liao Ju suddenly laughed out loud, as if he did not take the sword wound that Murong-ing gave him to heart at all. You are all not bad. Murong-ing had a bad feeling. And at this moment, the divine dragon in the sky suddenly disappeared, and a golden light shone from Liao Ju's body, as if he was wearing a dragon armor. Murong-ing wanted to pull out and leave, but the martial emperor suddenly extended his palm that was covered in golden light and directly grabbed onto Murong-ing's neck. The current martial emperor was more like a light form of Draconic Man number 9. However, number 9's dragon body was real, while the dragon on the martial emperor's body was condensed from golden light. Releasing energy, I have lost the ability to fight? The martial emperor sneered, you guys are underestimating me too much. As long as I compress this energy into my body, with my battle experience, I will still be able to unleash my martial skills. As he spoke, the martial emperor's other hand suddenly slapped out. A yellow emperor riding dragon, accompanied by a dragon's roar, immediately sent Murong-ing flying. Chapter 1638. Murong-ing's body fell out of the arena, but she directly inserted her sword into the arena and stabilized her body. The title of Martial Emperor is not for nothing. Li Fan couldn't help but stand up as he nervously looked at Murong-ing, who was in the arena, afraid that she would be in danger. After learning this kind of fighting method, I'm afraid that the Martial Emperor will no longer have any weakness. Li Fan could feel that the Martial Emperor's method of turning the divine dragon into dragon armor and draping it over his body should not be something that he could create himself. Perhaps he had also inherited some spiritual beast possession method from the Azure Dragon Soul. If that's the case, the Martial Emperor's strength would probably go up another level. I take back my words. The Martial Emperor crooked his hand towards Murong-ing. You can display your dual sword technique to your heart's content and let me see your true strength. All right. Murong-ing pulled out her sword and looked at the Martial Emperor. After all, what you practice is not martial arts but the so-called immortal technique. Since that's the case, using the Yin-Yang Dragon and Phoenix Sword to deal with you is just right. As she spoke, Murong-ing once again summoned her dragon sword. With both swords in her hands, her entire aura changed. Behind Murong-ing, a dragon and a phoenix's aura faintly appeared and occupied the sky above the venue. Dragon and Phoenix's power. You woman, is indeed not simple. The Martial Emperor praised. This kind of talent is suitable to be the mistress of my harem. Sorry, I have a husband. Murong-ing threw down this sentence and her body suddenly disappeared. But this time, the Martial Emperor stretched out his hands and directly grabbed the two swords that Murong-ing slashed down from the void. A powerful force protected his body, making the swords unable to enter even half a millimeter. It's useless. Your sword technique is indeed powerful, but I am stronger. As the Martial Emperor spoke, he suddenly swung his golden tail and whipped Murong-ing's body. Murong-ing was sent flying again. This time, even the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix Sword was ineffective. However, Murong-ing's body disappeared in the air, and another Murong-ing appeared behind the Martial Emperor, her Cheongsam and long black hairs swaying gently together. A crack appeared on the dragon armor on the martial monarch's shoulder. He was also a little surprised. We still underestimated you. The moment you were sent flying, did you already use Qing Gong to teleport? The Martial Emperor clapped his hands and praised, as expected of the leading figures of the martial arts world for several generations. The strength of the Murong family is indeed very strong. If that kid Murong Bo was still alive, he would also feel gratified for you. Cut the crap. Watch my sword. Murong-ing used the Dragon and Phoenix Yin-Yang sword and directly arrived in front of the Martial Emperor. He didn't see her move, but the Martial Emperor dodged several times in a row. Did he feel the pressure from Guild Master Murong? A martial monarch is dodging continuously? The host couldn't help but ask. It's just that you didn't see it. Ordinary people can't see it. Jiang Feng explained, just a moment ago, Murong-ing stabbed out a few times, but the martial monarch dodged them. It's so fast that you can't see it clearly? Let's replay it in slow motion on the big screen. The movements of the two people on the big screen were slowed down. This was already captured by a dynamic camera, but the speed of Murong Ying's sword was still somewhat unclear. They could only vaguely see some indistinct shadows. Oh my god, Alliance Master Murong's sword is too fast, even the dynamic camera can't capture it. This is a scene that can even capture the speed of a 500 km/h bullet train. Could it be that Alliance Master Murong's sword is even faster than the bullet train? This is the sword that belongs to Murong Ying. Jiang Feng had already understood the mystery behind it. Murong Ying had infused the sword qi into the hilt of the sword, detonating the sword qi to instantly increase the speed of the sword. Instead of stabbing the sword, it's more like firing a gun. There's actually such a technique? That's right, it's a technique that only belongs to Murong Ying. Only their Murong family's sword qi can do this. So that's how it is. It seems like the pressure on the martial monarch will be greater. Is it him? From the looks of it, such a powerful sword was still unable to do anything to him. This person? Too strong. Jiang Feng could feel the power of the martial monarch in his heart. This enemy, he had to join hands with Li Fan in order to defeat him. If he wanted to defeat him now, it seemed that he would have to find Li Fan to join hands. Unwilling, truly unwilling. If you and Li Fan were to join hands and use the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword, I might really find it troublesome. As the martial monarch dodged the explosive sword, he said, "It's a pity that you're the only one. You can't do it." Is that so? As Murong Ying spoke, a similar Murong Ying suddenly appeared behind the martial monarch. The two of them, one using the Dragon Yang sword technique, the other using the Yin Phoenix sword technique, simultaneously attacked the martial monarch. Doppelganger? The martial monarch was shocked once again. Other than Li Fan, Murong Ying had also researched doppelganger. Furthermore, her doppelganger had the ability to do two things at the same time. It was probably even more terrifying than Li Fan's doppelganger. As expected, after using the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword technique together, the two Murong Ying finally made the martial monarch feel that it was difficult to deal with. A sword technique that could even kill an immortal. This was no joke. Even so, it can only be used to the first level. Li Fan crossed his arms as he watched this scene, but still sighed. The strongest part of the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword technique was that through the degree of love between the two, it could deepen the bond of the soul. Only then could one successfully use the second and third level of the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword technique. Just being able to use the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix sword technique at the Roaming Dragon and Phoenix level was not enough to contend against the current martial monarch. No matter how powerful Murong Ying was, it was impossible for her to fall in love with her other self. Unless she was especially abnormal. That's right. But this is the end. The martial monarch suddenly stomped his foot, and a huge force immediately spread out, attacking the surroundings, lifting up the surrounding floor, and also blowing Murong Ying away. Murong Ying, you should be proud that you can force us to this extent. The martial monarch's body suddenly caught up to Murong Ying, and with a palm strike, he smashed Murong Ying's body heavily into the ground. Die with your pride. The martial monarch continued to attack, and the explosive power crazily landed on Murong Ying's body. Murong Ying laid there, barely able to block a few attacks with her sword, but in the end, she was unable to block the martial monarch's powerful strength. In the end, the sword was shattered, and she took a few of the martial monarch's palms. It's about time. The martial monarch retracted his palm, took a few steps back, and said arrogantly, "You have already lost, Murong Ying, let your man come." No need. Murong Ying, who was covered in injuries, slowly stood up and once again summoned her sword. Still not admitting defeat? In the dictionary of the Murong family, there is no such thing as defeat. Chapter 1639. Murong Ying raised the long sword in her hand and pointed it at the martial emperor. In the dictionary of the Murong family, there is no such thing as lose. She gathered all of the internal energy in her body onto the sword, and the sword immediately emitted a dazzling white light, like a bright lamp, emitting an intense radiance. However, the martial emperor stood there and did not make a move. After a second, the radiance on Murong Ying's sword disappeared. She stood there, unconscious. After so many beatings, she was already on the verge of death. It was already not easy for her to hold on until now. What a pity, Alliance Master Murong still lost, but even though she lost, it was still an honorable defeat. The host said regretfully, "Next, let us rest for a while, and then proceed to the finals." "No need." Li Fan's voice suddenly sounded. He had already descended from the sky. With a flip, he landed on the stage. The powerful force caused the ground to tremble, and Murong Ying's body was also shaken up, before being carried by Li Fan. "You came to protect your own woman in such a hurry?" The martial emperor laughed, the golden light behind him fluctuated, and the dragon head seemed to be roaring. "Aya, contestant Li is already impatient to go on stage. Looks like the finals are going to start early." The host looked at the scene below and said, "Contestant Li has carried Alliance Master Murong. It's really enviable." He handed Alliance Master Murong over to the medical staff at the side. "Let us pray for Alliance Master Murong's health." Now that things had come to this, the host was more than willing to address Murong Ying as Alliance leader. After all, Murong Ying had already used her strength to conquer the audience. Even the sect leaders of the 6 major sects were speechless. The current Murong Ying, compared to the last martial arts assembly, was many times stronger. This woman was indeed very strong, there was no doubt about it. "Martial Emperor, are you satisfied to see me?" As Li Fan spoke, a few blue lightning bolts appeared from his body, circling around his body. "Satisfied?" The martial emperor nodded. "You are the most capable martial artist I have ever seen." As he spoke, he suddenly sent a telepathic message to Li Fan. "If you are willing to be my right-hand man, I can defeat the realm beyond heaven with you. After that, this emperor will rule this world, and you can also become second only to me, and above all others. Forget it." However, Li Fan directly rejected the martial monarch's invitation. "Cooperating with you is no different from asking a tiger for its skin. Your ambition is no less than the realm beyond heavens." "I am the chosen one," the martial emperor said with a smile. "Moreover, we won't take the lives of humans. If you don't agree, I can only choose the second option, which is to cooperate with the realm beyond heaven." "Ridiculous." Li Fan ridiculed him. "Haven't you already become a lackey of the realm beyond heaven?" "Stupid provocation." However, the martial emperor sneered, "We have the mandate of heaven. In the end, the sky beyond heaven will be trampled under our feet." "That's why I said you're really scary." Li Fan could not help but shake his head. This fellow, the martial monarch, should be eliminated as soon as possible. The more he lived, the more pressure he would feel. "Since you are not willing to be my right-hand man, then I can only get rid of you first, and then carry out the human extermination plan of the realm beyond heaven." The martial monarch decided the fate of the human race while talking and laughing. "That's right, this emperor has made an agreement with the realm beyond heaven. After the human race is exterminated, this emperor can establish a kingdom with millions of people. At that time, this emperor will cripple all of your women's martial arts, bring them over, and raise them in this emperor's harem. Hee, you have a good eye, the women you choose are all good. Martial monarch, you're courting death." When Li Fan heard this, the blood in his body started to flow in reverse. "The martial monarch must die. Come, let this emperor see your current abilities." The martial monarch laughed. "Let's fight." However, the audience outside could not hear a single word of the conversation between the two of them. The martial monarch did not wear a microphone at all, and this time, Li Fan did not bring one either. Furthermore, he had used his inner force to construct a barrier around the two of them, blocking their conversation so as to prevent it from being heard by a third party. If the audience were to hear these things, it would definitely cause unnecessary panic. Bam! The martial monarch's body was wrapped in a golden dragon armor. In an instant, he used the yellow emperor's dragon and slapped towards Li Fan. The sudden palm strike was directly kicked away by Li Fan. The martial monarch continued to make his move. With the addition of the dragon armor, the 5 emperor's palm was fully displayed by him. As for Li Fan, he relied on a set of leg techniques to accurately kick away the martial monarch's attacks time and time again. At the same time, he also tried to attack the martial monarch, but he was also repelled by the martial monarch's other palm. The two of them entered a beautiful battle of offense and defense. Both of their moves were exquisite and perfect, and it was difficult to find any flaws or loopholes. Wow, as expected of the two people who entered the finals. They are both too strong. The host was dazzled by what he saw. He felt that the battle between the two of them was filled with dangerous energy. Every move looked simple, but they were filled with the pressure of death. The two of them are both top experts. Jiang Feng's eyes did not blink at all, afraid that he would miss any crucial point. The battle between the two of them reached a small climax. The places where their fists and feet collided continuously emitted explosive sounds. And Li Fan finally started to use his big move. He suddenly roared, and the sound wave instantly exploded out, causing the martial monarch's body to freeze for a moment. War Dragon's Roar. While the martial monarch was in a daze, Li Fan directly closed in and used a set of leg techniques from the dragon's subduing platform. He kicked the martial monarch's body into the air and continuously kicked it. The martial monarch's body did not fall for a long time. Angrily behead the third prince. Li Fan's last kick directly kicked the martial monarch into the ground. Even if it was a truck, Li Fan was confident that he could kick it in half. However, the martial monarch's body was even sturdier than a truck. The powerful immortal power formed a perfect defense around his body. Even though Li Fan's attack was so powerful, it was still blocked. However, Li Fan had grasped the penetrating force. Although the martial monarch was not kicked in half by Li Fan, he still suffered a certain degree of injury. The martial monarch laid on the ground, spitting out a large mouthful of blood. It was obvious that he had suffered some internal injuries. "You actually injured me." The martial monarch's eyes were about to burst into flames. The golden dragon floating on his body also let out a series of roars, as though it had erupted with power along with the martial monarch's anger. "So what?" Li Fan looked at the martial monarch coldly. "Is that all your strength? We have not used our true abilities yet." The martial monarch realized that his 5 emperor's palm was not as exquisite as Li Fan's. This caused him to be very shocked. However, he possessed absolute power. He cultivated the true immortal art that the immortals had learned. Chapter 1640. I will let you see what a real true immortal art is. As the martial emperor speaks, the golden light on his body seems to be burning. Reincarnated golden immortal. The golden light on the martial emperor's body suddenly retracts back into his body. At the same time, the sky is once again filled with dark clouds, just like when Liang Ru used her ultimate move. And Jade, who is standing in the participant seating, seeing this scene, her expression starts to panic. This guy, he actually trained to the strength of a heavenly immortal? What is the difference between a heavenly immortal and a lower immortal? Not to mention the difference in strength of 10 times, heavenly immortals are experts with a real Dharma body. They can retract their immortal force back into their body and train a Dharma body to fight. This martial emperor actually trained to this level in such a short period of time? Fortunately, the true immortal art that he learned is flawed, otherwise he might really be able to train to the strength of a heavenly immortal in the future. This person is too scary. Li Fan looks at the martial emperor continuously changing. The martial emperor's body continues to expand. It is very similar to his own alien bone changing, but it is different. If it is alien bone changing, at most it will change his body shape, at most it will expand his body to 2 meters tall. After all, Li Fan's muscles and bones are limited. It is impossible for him to infinitely grow and mutate. The martial emperor did it. In almost a blink of an eye, the martial emperor's body expanded to a height of 4 meters, like a small giant, standing in front of Li Fan. His body carries a powerful force. That kind of oppressive feeling is also transmitted into Li Fan's heart. Do you see? This is the difference between me and you mortals. The martial emperor can only rely on a secret technique to temporarily reveal his Dharma body, to show off his might. But he is still incomparably arrogant, looking down on Li Fan and said mockingly, "Now, how are you going to fight against me? Then let's try." Li Fan is also not someone who is easily defeated. He leaps up and charges towards the huge martial emperor. Li Fan's body is in the air. He swings his leg and descends from the sky, chopping towards the martial emperor. But the martial emperor raises his hand and directly sends Li Fan flying with a palm. Boom! Li Fan's body smashed into the ground, creating a crater. Oh my god, contestant Liao actually turned into a 4-meter-tall giant. Is this also martial arts? The host threw the question to Jiang Feng. The veins on Jiang Feng's forehead were throbbing. Motherfucker, the martial emperor was still hiding something. Moreover, he had taken out such a skill, how could he play dumb for him? It's also a type of inner force. Jiang Feng started to spout nonsense, using inner force to activate the cells in the human body, temporarily making the body bigger. So that's how it is. Does that mean that my combat power has also greatly increased? Jiang Feng frowned. At least 10 times stronger. There's actually such a kung fu. Amazing. Impressive indeed, Jiang Feng thought to himself. Even if I use Dragon God's possession, my body can only be strengthened by 3 or 4 times. But this martial emperor can strengthen my strength by 10 times. This is too abnormal. The martial emperor's voice was like a great bell, breaking through Li Fan's soundproof cover and shaking the entire arena. Everyone could not help but cover their ears. The eardrums were being shaken to the point that it was too painful. Their eardrums felt like they were about to tear. Even their heads were hurting. At this time, Li Fan stood up from the pit. Just as he was about to counterattack, the martial emperor stepped over and stomped Li Fan's body back into the ground. Dragon-spitting pearl. When Li Fan was trampled under the martial emperor's foot, he immediately stretched out his right hand and shot out a ball of white chi bead towards the martial emperor's cheek. However, the martial emperor only blew a breath of air and blew the chi bead away. It smashed onto the ground beside him and blasted a deep pit in the ground. Compared to the martial emperor's current strength, Li Fan seemed incomparably small. It's over. Could it be that Li Fan is going to lose? The holy maiden stood in the contestant seating area, nervously watching the battle on the stage. Her heart was on tenterhooks. Once Li Fan lost, all her plans would be lost. As long as she helped the sect leader obtain the true immortal art, the sect leader would not make a move against Li Fan. Today's competition, Li Fan must win. Shouldn't she help him think of a way? But at this time, a circle of lightning suddenly exploded from the martial emperor's feet. He was forced to take a few steps back, while Li Fan slowly stood up. His height had also increased to 3 meters, and his body was covered in lightning. His skin was glowing, as if he had a Dharma body. Heavenly thunder transformation. In order to deal with the martial emperor's Dharma body, Li Fan had no choice but to use this move of his in advance. You also have a Dharma body? The martial emperor was still a little surprised. Li Fan had actually cultivated a Dharma body? Impossible, he did not learn the true immortal art, nor did he have immortal energy. How did he cultivate a Dharma body? Impossible. Li Fan's body suddenly moved. He stepped forward and directly kicked, bringing with it a ray of lightning. It kicked the martial emperor's face. The martial emperor wanted to block, but he realized that his speed was not as fast as Li Fan's. Before he could even extend his hand, he was kicked in the face by Li Fan. The martial emperor was kicked until he slid 2 meters away. Only when he stepped on the ground did he stabilize his body. And Li Fan had already landed in front of him. Following that, with a flying dragon slapping tiger, his leg descended from the sky and kicked towards the martial emperor. White Emperor holds the sky. The martial emperor raised both of his palms and collided with Li Fan's leg. Bam! A huge wave of air exploded out, and a crater appeared on the ground where the two of them were standing. What a terrifying power! The host was on the verge of collapse. Was this still a battle between humans? At this time, Li Fan's leg technique was like a god. His legs seemed to have gathered all the strength in his body, vigorous and powerful. Time and time again, he kicked out with the power of a missile, straight towards the martial emperor. Moreover, the most terrifying thing about Li Fan was the thrusting leg that he had learned from Murong Ying's thrusting sword. He used the dragon subduing sword technique with his leg technique, using his leg to kick out the white dragon steel's heart. His speed was extremely fast. The martial emperor could dodge Murong Ying's thrusting sword, but he couldn't dodge Li Fan's thrusting leg. Bang bang bang. The martial emperor was kicked in the chest several times, causing him to retreat a few steps. He really couldn't understand. This fellow, Li Fan, seemed to be proficient in all kinds of martial arts. In the past, his most powerful technique was his palm technique. With a set of black dragon ice palm, he swept through the martial arts world and even defeated his 5 emperors' palm. Later on, he used the superb dragon subduing sword, as well as the dragon and phoenix yin-yang sword of subduing dragon and tiger, and even the 9-tailed divine fox was subdued. And now, he had put down his sword technique and switched to this set of leg technique, and had once again forced him to retreat. I am the strongest. As the martial emperor spoke, he suddenly stretched out his hand and pushed towards Li Fan in the air. Big phaseless technique. Li Fan's body was pushed backwards, and then the martial emperor suddenly appeared behind Li Fan. He opened his palms, and with the momentum of his 2 peaks piercing through his ears, he fiercely slapped Li Fan's temples. Black Emperor subduing demon. Chapter 1641. If this move were to land, even if Li Fan didn't die, he would be beaten into a fool. However, Li Fan used the 1,000-kilogram drop and forcefully fell down. He directly landed on the ground, dodging the martial monarch's palms. Like the sound of a bell, the martial monarch's palms clapped together, exploding out a strong shockwave that spread out in all directions. Li Fan took the opportunity to use his hands to support himself on the ground and kicked his legs backwards, directly towards the martial monarch above his head. The martial monarch was directly kicked, his 4-meter-tall body flew backwards, flew more than a meter high, and then landed on the ground. Dragon's teeth. Li Fan supported himself with both hands on the ground, and continued to kick the martial monarch continuously. Bang, bang. The air continuously emitted explosive sounds, and the martial monarch's body was kicked until he continuously jumped up, unable to land. Li Fan consecutively kicked dozens of times, and the martial monarch finally regained control of his center of gravity. He immediately struck out with his palm, aiming towards Li Fan. With another heavy sound, a huge pit with a palm print appeared on the ground, and Li Fan was lying on the ground. This attack was not weak at all, and Li Fan felt as if all the bones in his body were about to shatter. However, the martial monarch was not feeling well either. After he landed, he took 2 steps back and spat out a mouthful of blood. The 2 of them fought for a long time, but it seemed like they were still evenly matched. However, the 2 of them had almost used up all of their energy, so the martial monarch did not dare to delay any longer. He immediately raised his palm and poured all of his energy into it. 9 Dragons' divine palm. The martial monarch roared, and a golden dragon once again rose up from his back. The golden dragon opened its mouth wide, and the martial monarch stood inside. Both of his palms pushed out a golden shockwave. This shockwave seemed to want to shatter the entire world, and it smashed towards Li Fan. However, Li Fan did not retreat. He stood there, took a step forward, and stepped on the ground. At the same time, his right fist punched out from his waist, and he also used his strongest move. Lightning Supreme Dragon Fist. A bolt of lightning streaked across the sky, and the huge shockwave from the martial monarch was actually pierced through by this punch. His lower abdomen was imprinted with a fist imprint of lightning. His entire body slid out, and the dragon head on his back also vanished. Li Fan, on the other hand, was also affected by the aftershock of the shockwave. His body was thrown more than 10 meters away and he fell on the edge of the arena. The martial emperor stood there, his chest suddenly split open, the power contained in the fist still pierced through his lower abdomen. However, The martial emperor had already cultivated the true immortal art. His physical body was strong, and even though his lower abdomen was pierced, he did not die. However, he temporarily lost the ability to fight and fainted on the stage. A group of medical staff hurriedly came up and helped the martial emperor down, checking his injuries. Li Fan stood tall in the arena. Obviously, he was the final victor. The lightning on his body gradually disappeared, and his body gradually returned to its original appearance. In his ears, he could faintly hear the host cheering for him. "You won, Alliance Chief." A gray-robed elder from the Sky Martial Pavilion walked over and handed a simple and unadorned wooden box to Li Fan. "This is your prize." "Many thanks." Li Fan exhaled a mouthful of turbid air. After going through a huge battle, he was indeed a little tired. However, he still won the final victory of the competition. The Alliance Chief of the Martial Arts Circle was secondary. What he wanted was the third page of the true immortal art. He opened the wooden box and looked at the true immortal art inside. It seemed to be real. "Everyone, I can't be the Alliance Chief of the Martial Arts Circle. Therefore, the position of Alliance Chief should be given to the previous Murong Ing. She has more experience than me." Li Fan announced this matter loudly. Furthermore, the martial monarch's technique is no longer considered a martial art. Therefore, his victory over Muronging does not count. The people from the 6 great sects were somewhat surprised. Why did this person give up the position of Alliance Chief? That's right, he only wanted that true immortal art. With this, would he still need to worry about not being able to rule the martial arts circle? So what if he was the Alliance Chief? After learning the true immortal art, he would become as strong as a martial monarch. That's right, this man is actually as strong as a martial monarch. Could it be? The audience had already left the stage. Wang Zhini suddenly stood up and pointed at Li Fan and said, "What, Li Yun? I think you are Li Fan, right? You did not let us obtain the true immortal art because you do not want us to become as strong as the two of you, right? Sinister Seven Knights Villa, you really did cultivate the true immortal art." A group of people from the martial arts circle began to reprimand Li Fan. As for Li Fan, he was too lazy to use the appearance-changing technique. He returned to his original appearance and stood on the already messy stage. "You are an overseas martial artist, not a Chinese martial artist. We have no way to acknowledge you." Long Fengyu, who is also standing on the viewing platform, led the crowd and loudly said, "Today, all the martial arts circle people are here. We must seek justice for the Chinese martial artists. Li Fan, seeing that you were once a Chinese martial artist, we can give you a chance. As long as you hand over the true immortal art, we can let you go." That's right, the true immortal art belongs to our Chinese martial arts circle. Quickly hand it over. A Mei sect leader Yu Ring finally found an opportunity. She immediately pointed at Li Fan and shouted, "Hand over the 2 pages of the true immortal art in your hands. Who does not want to be as strong as a martial monarch? Who does not want to live forever? You want the true immortal art?" Li Fan did not want to talk nonsense with these people. He raised the wooden box in his hand and said, "Ask for it in your dreams." With that, he crushed the wooden box and used his internal force to turn the scroll into nothingness. A lot of martial artists wailed, but Wang Zhini pointed at Li Fan and reminded everyone, "Don't be afraid, he must have memorized it. Li Fan is the living true immortal art. Capture him and make him recite the true immortal art for us." That's right, capture Li Fan. Make him hand over the true immortal art. Everyone said in unison. "Oh no, are you all crazy?" Teresa could not help but stand up from the viewing platform and shouted at the martial artists, "He is the champion, he has the right to deal with his prize." "Barbarian woman, when did you have the right to speak here? Did you see that? This guy really joined hands with the barbarians. He wants to spread our Chinese immortal art abroad. This person is our Chinese martial arts circle's traitor." Everyone's shouts became more and more unpleasant. Teresa was somewhat dumbfounded. Could it be that she came out to speak for Li Fan out of kindness, but in the end she did something wrong? What are they doing? Windsor could not stand it anymore. She also wanted to speak up for Li Fan, but she was stopped by number 9. Don't worry about it. Why? You are a hero, don't tell me you don't care about this kind of thing. I'm not their hero. Number 9 said bluntly, these people do not need a hero. What they need is a devil. Chapter 1642. These people have already lost their faith. All they want is endless madness. Number 9 crosses her arms. She doesn't want to care about this matter. This is the Chinese's own battle. They don't like outsiders interfering. You really don't care? Windsor is a little unhappy. Justice knows no boundaries. Do you think there is justice here today? Number 9 already knows a lot about human affairs. Among them, no one is justice. Even that Li Fan, aka Li Yun, has his own plans. If he really wanted to settle this matter, wouldn't it be better to just hand over his cultivation method? Greed is his original sin. Number 9 doesn't understand Li Fan. Li Fan doesn't need others to understand him. Hee, you're just a defeated opponent. You want to challenge me? Li Fan stretches his muscles. While speaking, he has already secretly taken a few rejuvenation pills, allowing his body to recover a little. At this time, Jiang Feng stands up from the high platform. With a leap, he lands in front of Li Fan. Villa Master Li, you are my third brother. I shouldn't help you in this matter today. But since this is a matter of the Jianghu, as the commander of the royal guards, I have the responsibility of a commander. You have already left the Chinese Jianghu. So, you really can't take the true immortal cultivation method away. But I don't want to see the Jianghu, which has finally calmed down, to be filled with blood again. Why don't everyone give me face today? You write down the 2 pages of the true immortal cultivation method and give it to me. I will pass it on to the heads of the various sections. Then, they will spread it so that all the martial artists in China can practice this powerful cultivation method. What do you think? Good. Commander Jiang's method is peaceful. I like it. Support Commander Jiang. Li Fan, look at your sworn brother. He's so righteous. Look at you. You're too selfish. But everyone starts to support Jiang Feng. They look like they can't wait to snatch Li Fan away. My good second brother, you really know how to conduct yourself. Li Fan chuckled. Trying to gain something without risking anything. Do you think you can get the true immortal art just by talking? What's wrong, third brother? Are you reluctant? That's all I have to say today. The true immortal art sounds pretty good. If you cultivate it, you'll become an immortal. However, there was a major flaw in this technique. Once it was cultivated, one would be under the control of the sky beyond heaven. Why do you think a martial emperor can practice this set of martial arts? It was because he had become a lackey of the realm beyond Avalon. What's wrong? You guys don't want to be martial arts experts, but also want to learn from martial emperors and become lackeys for others? Li Fan, cut the crap. Yu Ring pointed at Li Fan and scolded, you trained yourself and became so strong. In order to stop us from practicing, you made up such a story that even a 3-year-old wouldn't believe. Li Fan, do you really take us for fools? How should I put this? Li Fan blinked his eyes. From what I see, you guys really don't seem to be that smart. Cut the crap. If you don't hand over the true immortal art, don't even think about leaving. That's right, don't even think about going anywhere. A group of martial artists surrounded Li Fan. Everyone glared at Li Fan like a tiger watching its prey. Everyone, don't be impulsive. Li Fan is after all a government agent and can be considered as my colleague. Let me persuade him first. Jiang Feng is pretending to be a good person again. Jiang Feng was pretending to be a good person again. At this time, Niu Xuan, who was covered in bandages, limped out, pointed at Li Fan and shouted, everyone, don't be afraid. Li Fan has disobeyed the order and has been expelled from the government. He is now a wanted criminal by the government. Let us arrest this traitor. Look, even the government can't tolerate your evil deeds. Long Fengyu added oil to the fire at this time. Villa Master Li, although I have received your protection before and really want to help you. However, A just cause enjoys abundant support while an unjust cause finds little. What you're doing right now isn't flattering at all. Even if I want to help you, I can't let down my conscience. Interesting. You still have a conscience? Li Fan laughed. I want to see who dares to touch a single hair of his. Luo Xuewu brought a few of Yi Sword's cadres and stood behind Li Fan. This extraordinary woman said loudly, if anyone dares to touch him, Yi Sword will not rest until he is dead. Alliance leader Luo, why are you also involved in this mess? That's right, Alliance leader Luo, don't be foolish. Did Li Fan deceive you with some words? Everyone said. Alliance leader Luo, you and I can be considered to be from the same sect. Long Fengyu sighed again and said regretfully, I never thought that you would actually stand up for this person today. You are muddle-headed, so muddle-headed. Fuck off, I don't need you to fart. Jean Kumo fiercely glared at Long Fengyu. She hated this person to death. What a hypocritical villain. Ungrateful. Xiao Wu, I appreciate your intentions. Seeing Luo Xuewu and the others swear to advance and retreat together with Li Fan felt a little warmth in his heart. However, there were too many martial arts practitioners in front of him. Li Fan did not want Luo Xuewu and the others to suffer losses. But today, it's a matter between me and these people. Let me handle it. No, if I don't help you, how can I, Luo Xuewu, call for helps? Luo Xuewu said resolutely. She raised her sword high, and her voice grew louder. I declare that from today onwards, Yi Jian and Seven Chivalry Villa will form an alliance. If you do that, you will become the enemy of the government. Niu Xuan looked coldly at Luo Xuewu and threatened, Alliance leader Luo, do you dare? Why wouldn't I dare? Luo Xuewu snorted, but Li Fan stopped her and curled his lips at Niu Xuan. Little friend, who do you think you are? Can you represent the government? The country wants stability and peace, but you're playing the office of strategic deception and casually convicting people in your own name. What? Is it so great to have a relative from the headquarters? Is he the king? Li Fan, don't talk nonsense with him. At worst, I'll move to Li Family Island with everyone from Yi Jian. Luo Xuewu seemed to have finally made up her mind. Anyway, I've had enough of this bullshit martial arts world. The current martial arts world made Luo Xuewu nauseous. In that case, she might as well follow Li Fan. Yes, we're willing to move to Li Family Island. Life is the same everywhere. It's good to go out and have a look. Yi Jian and the others all shouted, and none of them looked embarrassed. Thank you, everyone. Li Fan was really touched. Yi Jian and Xiao Qingfeng were all elites, and it was a good thing that they were willing to join Seven Chivalry Villa. After all, Li Fan couldn't rely on himself to deal with grandmasters in the future. It seems that if we don't shed some blood today, we won't be able to solve the problem. Jiang Feng looked at Li Fan helplessly. Third brother, why are you always so extreme? Must you set off a reign of terror in the martial arts world again? Chapter 1643. Hearing Jiang Feng's question, Li Fan laughed out loud. You're really interesting. Stop pretending. If you want to fight, then fight. Do you think that I, Li Fan, am afraid of you? With that, he waved his hand. Brothers of Yi Sword, I'm very happy that you've helped me. However, please take a rest first and be my witness. Let's see if my title as the champion is well-deserved. With that, Li Fan gathered his internal energy. The rubble around him flew up into the air, and arcs of lightning swam in the air, crackling. Li Fan, you really want to be the enemy of everyone in the world. Jiang Feng looked very pained, but he had a cold smile on his face. Everything was going according to his plan. As long as everyone wanted to deal with Li Fan, then Li Fan would have no chance to make a comeback. Since you've made up your mind, then I won't care about our brotherhood. Listen to my order, surround the arena. Don't let anyone who supports the rebel Li Fan escape. Around the arena, royal guards immediately stood up. Each of them held a pistol in their left hand and a long blade in their right. After Jiang Feng took control of the royal guards, he made them practice the doctrine of demon resistance and the imperial demon divine blade to increase their ability to fight together. That was not all. At the same time, they were all equipped with the set of anti-wuxia weapons developed by China. The pistols in their hands were made with this technology. The bullets they shot could directly penetrate the protective chi of martial artists. Under Jiang Feng's order, everyone pointed their pistols at Li Fan and the people of Sword Alliance. It seemed like they were preparing to start a war of annihilation. Look at you. Before you die, you still want to drag some people down. Jiang Feng pointed at Luo Xuewu and the others and continued to provoke Li Fan. Commander Jiang, that's not right. Night Rain Tower's legs had already healed. He stood there with his hands in his sleeves and replied to Jiang Feng with a smile, "We are willing to live and die with Villa Masterly. After all, things like betraying one's friends and biting one's benefactors in the teeth, you guys can do it, but we, the E-Sword, can't. In our alliance, betraying a friend is the #1 felony." What a good battle, Commander Yi, you sure have a sharp tongue. Jiang Feng's gaze landed on Night Rain Tower with some admiration. Everyone says that Commander Yi has a good command of his troops. If you can really make it to the Li family island alive, it will add a lot of strength to the Li family island. Unfortunately, all of you will be executed here. Really, it hurts my heart. Not bad, not bad. Night Rain Tower laughed even more happily. Fortunately you, Commander Jiang, aren't a beautiful woman. You're heartbroken, but I don't need to have tender feelings for you. Yes, pain can make a man grow up. Zhang Xiaotian waved his only arm and laughed. Commander Jiang, congratulations on growing up. I'm not afraid of pain. The silly Guomingming also grinned. I'm afraid of being hungry. Brothers of the E-Sword Laughing Breeze, let these Jianghu friends see our righteousness. Luo Xuewu raised her sword high. The surrounding dozen or so people of the E-Sword Alliance all took out their weapons and prepared to fight with Li Fan. Li Fan, I'll ask you one last time. Jiang Feng also gathered his internal energy, and the black Shura Qi revolved around his body. He had also entered the Black Emperor state, and his voice was like a bell. Do you really want to start a war with China's Jianghu? Li Fan also let go. Who's afraid of who? Jiang Feng roared, "Kill without mercy." Just as his voice fell, a sharp bird cry suddenly came from the sky. Everyone raised their heads and looked at the sky. They saw a white object leaping into the sky. What is that? Everyone asked the same question, but in the next second, that thing suddenly exploded. The dazzling white light instantly covered everyone's eyes. Even Li Fan had to close his eyes to relieve the pressure on them. At this time, a voice appeared in his ear, whispering, "Catch me." It was the Saintess. Li Fan knew that she came to pick him up according to the agreement. However, Li Fan refused the Saintess. No matter how anxious the Saintess was, Li Fan still did not move. After 3 or 4 seconds, everyone regained their vision. Jiang Feng crossed his arms and looked at them with a faint smile. Li Fan still stood there, but there was a woman beside him. It's the Saintess? What a good Li Fan, he actually colluded with the people of the Devil Sect. What a scum of the Jianghu. The Saintess actually wants to save Li Fan. Fortunately, we are surrounded by people he can't escape. The Saintess stomped her feet in anger. She had already prepared a secret passage. As long as Li Fan followed her, he could leave from here. Who knew, Li Fan actually did not leave. Why don't you leave? Bastard. The Saintess wanted to curse. My fellow martial artists want to fight with me. Why should I leave? Li Fan said confidently, as the Villa Master of the Seven Knights Villa, I accept everyone's challenge. If you want to leave, then leave. With me here, they won't be able to hurt you. I won't leave. The Saintess said angrily, since you don't want to leave with me, I might as well die with you. You demon girl, why do you keep talking about death? Jean Jiama was especially unhappy. He glared at the Saintess, we won't die. If you want to die, then die by yourself. Little girl, how can you escape in front of a battle? Zhang Xiaonan also said, you people of the Devil Sect are all cowards. You are afraid of death, but we are not. Leave, we are not the same kind of people. Luo Shuowu also said coldly. All of you are idiots. The saintess stomped her feet. Martial arts or life, which is more important? For martial artists, martial arts is more important than anything else. Li Fan pointed at the martial artists in front of him. I, the villa master of the Seven Knights Villa, little overlord Li Fan, will declare my rule here. Whoever wants to challenge me, come at me. Today is the life and death arena. If you win, I will die here. If you lose, you can either leave or die. Awesome. Long Bailey was the first to jump out. Let me, Long Bailey, fight you. As the leader of the Kong Tong sect, Long Bailey had lost in the Seven Knights Villa, but today he must seek justice for the sect and take back the true immortal art. Li Fan was very strong, but so what? There were so many martial arts experts here, and with Jiang Feng here, it was not like he could go to heaven. If Long Bailey fought with him first, he probably wouldn't dare to use his real strength in front of so many people. Roaring Flame Saber. Long Bailey was prepared to give Li Fan a ruthless blow, to let him know fear. A crimson flame appeared in his hand, and like a flaming saber, it descended from the sky, heading straight for Li Fan. But just when he was about to slash Li Fan's head, Li Fan suddenly made his move. Chapter 1644. Long Bailey's flame saber directly leaped towards Li Fan and slashed towards his head. However, Li Fan did not dodge. He just kicked high and hit Long Bailey's chin, kicking Long Bailey up. At the same time, Li Fan followed like a shadow and leaped up. In the blink of an eye, he appeared beside Long Bailey and then with a kick, like a guillotine, he kicked Long Bailey's neck and directly beheaded him. With a plop, Long Bailey's headless corpse fell to the ground, raising a cloud of dust. As for his head, it rolled a few times on the ground. Long Bailey only felt that the world was spinning and then he saw blood red. Before he died, he only had one thought left. If only he had learned the true immortal art and become an immortal, he might not have died. If only he could continue to live. You actually killed sect leader Long? Oh my god, crazy. Li Fan, you are too arrogant. Everyone turned pale with fright. No one would have thought that Li Fan's attack would be so ruthless. One move and he would take a life. Come, next challenger. Li Fan beckoned with his finger. However, his method had shocked the so-called heroes of Wulin. For a moment, no one dared to step forward. They all thought that by relying on their numbers, they would be able to take advantage of Li Fan. However, they did not think that before they could take advantage, they would first pay with their lives. Yo, Yu Ruing, sect leader. Li Fan's gaze fell on Yu Ruing. Weren't you very happy just now? Why don't you come and fight with me? How about it? I don't want to fight with you. Yu Ruing naturally knew her own strength. She immediately turned her head and ignored Li Fan's provocation. If she went up, she would probably be beheaded in one move. Everyone, don't be afraid. I'm here. Jiang Feng sensed everyone's fear. He immediately took 2 steps forward, looked at Li Fan and said, Third brother, as you can see, these friends in the martial arts world are afraid of you. Don't you hate people like martial emperors the most? But what's the difference between you and him now? Jiang Feng, don't give me that. Li Fan pointed at Jiang Feng. If you want to fight, let's fight. Of course I'll fight you. Don't worry. Jiang Feng nodded. I'm also a martial fighter, so I naturally respect the traditions of our martial fighters. Let's have a match. Even if my martial arts might not be as good as yours, for the sake of the world's heroes, for the sake of our martial arts world's justice, I will fight with you. You're really a righteous person. Li Fan couldn't help but laugh. All right, put away that face of yours, it looks disgusting. Come, let me see how your practice of the 5 Emperors' divine palms has progressed. All right, since you insist on doing things your own way, then I can only make my move. Jiang Feng held a folding fan in one hand, while the other hand was behind his back. He quickly crossed the distance of over 10 meters and arrived in front of Li Fan. The folding fan in his hand was like a short stick as it pierced towards Li Fan's acupoint. Pa! Li Fan moved his body to the side, dodging Jiang Feng's folding fan. At the same time, he swept his leg out like a long whip, fiercely striking at Jiang Feng's waist. Jiang Feng pressed his folding fan down, blocking his waist, blocking Li Fan's attack. However, he was also kicked to the side, but with a flick of his finger, an Azura sword pierced towards the center of Li Fan's eyebrows. Li Fan waved his hand. His palm was like a blade as he deflected the Azura sword chi. The hands were two doors, and he relied entirely on his feet to kick people. Li Fan was currently using the Thunder Dragon blade and the Dragon Subduing platform at the same time. Together, he had both offense and defense, causing his opponent to be unable to stop. It was the same for Jiang Feng. Although his martial arts were extremely high, he was actually unable to do anything to Li Fan for a moment. Instead, he was being pushed back by Li Fan's moves. Jiang Feng, don't tell me that you only have this little ability? Li Fan mocked. You understand me? Jiang Feng laughed. Naturally, it won't be that simple. With that said, Jiang Feng's body suddenly erupted with a strong black light, and a terrifying pressure pressed down. This was the power of the Black Emperor realm. Jiang Feng's basic strength had also reached the saint level. He then put on a layer of Azura Tiger state, and his entire body immediately expanded to over 3 meters tall. It was the same as Li Fan's Heavenly Thunder transformation, but the increase in strength was a little weaker. But this was not the end. Jiang Feng opened his hands, and a dragon's roar suddenly came from the dark clouds in the sky. Following that, a golden light descended, piercing through the dark clouds and shining on Li Fan's body. Dragon God Possession. The Dragon God number 1 floating in space used the cosmic energy it had gathered through the nano core to enhance Jiang Feng's body. At this moment, Jiang Feng's strength had completely surpassed the saint level, reaching the strength of an inferior immortal. But an inferior immortal was still not a match for Li Fan. Li Fan himself had already cultivated to the strength of 7 or 8 sages. If he used the Heavenly Thunder transformation, his strength would be close to that of an exalted immortal. But he had already used the Heavenly Thunder transformation once today. If he wanted to use it a second time, he would need a long time to recover his strength. Therefore, the current Jiang Feng was really a troublesome opponent for Li Fan. With the strength of 7 sages, it would be a little difficult to deal with Jiang Feng, an expert with the strength of 11 or 12 sages. But this was not a difficult task for Li Fan. He immediately circulated the power of the White Tiger and the 9-tailed Divine Fox, one on each side, and gathered them on his feet. The Red Divine Fox and the White Fierce Tiger flew out. The Divine Fox merged into Li Fan's left foot and turned into a scarlet fox-shaped leg armor. And the White Tiger merged into his right foot and turned into a platinum Fierce Tiger leg armor. After Li Fan put on this pair of leg armor, he lifted his left leg and swept it at Jiang Feng. A red light flashed. Jiang Feng was kicked in the chest and immediately slid more than 10 meters away, leaving a trail of white smoke on the ground. Third brother, you really like to surprise people? A sinister light flashed in Jiang Feng's eyes. I didn't expect you to have such a trump card. I usually don't use this kind of technique, but against you, it's better for me to be cautious. Li Fan's feet shot out and his whole body seemed to have teleported, immediately appearing in front of Jiang Feng. Jiang Feng was a little surprised. Li Fan's speed had increased so much again? Jiang Feng immediately flew out with a claw and grabbed at Li Fan's chest. However, Li Fan's Thunder Dragon blade directly bounced away Jiang Feng's Tiger Claw. At the same time, he turned his body and exerted strength from his waist, moving his right leg like a heavy hammer, heavily striking Jiang Feng's waist. Jiang Feng's 3-meter-tall body was also whipped into the air and sent spinning, crashing into the spectator stands. Jiang Feng spat out a mouthful of blood. Even though his body had been strengthened several times, he was still injured by this kick. The White Tiger leg armor seemed to have some kind of power that could ignore defense. How is it? Li Fan raised his right leg high and looked at Jiang Feng, who was sent flying. Do you still want to fight? Chapter 1645. Li Fan, you are too strong. Jiang Feng wipes the blood from the corner of his mouth and pulls out his body from the wall and lands on the ground again. I am really surprised that there are still you and Murong Ying in this world. If there are not the two of you, I should be the strongest, right? You, me, Murong Ying, we all have unique talent. Li Fan says objectively, in terms of talent, the three of us should be equal. But you have too many distracting thoughts and lack perseverance. You are destined to be unable to make great progress in the martial Tao. You really have guts to actually say that my perseverance is insufficient. Jiang Feng sneers, in order to realize my dream, how much have I sacrificed? You actually doubt my perseverance? Your perseverance is destruction. Li Fan says bluntly, and my perseverance is salvation. Murong Ying's perseverance is becoming stronger. Shouldn't destruction be the strongest? Jiang Feng sneered, I will prove to you that I am the strongest. With that, Jiang Feng opens his mouth and takes a deep breath. The surrounding martial fighters immediately feel a chill, following which power involuntarily flows out from their pores and converges in Jiang Feng's direction. As for the Saintess and the people of Leaning on the Sword Laughing Breeze, they are like the rest of the martial artists, half kneeling on the ground, their foreheads covered in cold sweat. They are very weak. Only Li Fan, because of the Taiji diagram protecting his meridians, did not let Jiang Feng succeed. Vairocana Heart Sutra? Li Fan is shocked, but immediately reacts, no, this is Star Luo Divine Technique? So you obtain power from Murong Bo? When I fell into the Azura path, the power of everyone I killed was absorbed by me. Jiang Feng's eyes light up with green light, his entire body is burning with a layer of green flame, his voice also becomes very cold. Today's occasion is the most suitable for me. With that, Jiang Feng's body also starts to swell, his power is increasing rapidly. Before long, he had the power of at least 20 sages. Although it was still far from the realm of mighty immortals, it was more than enough to deal with Li Fan. Jiang Feng's fingers suddenly shot out, and the Azura sword pierced through Li Fan's chest at lightning speed. Li Fan half knelt down and covered his injured chest. Because of his genes, Li Fan's wounds were slowly healing. What else? Jiang Feng suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan. He extended his claws and unleashed a flurry of attacks at Li Fan. Azura Tiger Claw. This set of attacks left Li Fan's body riddled with scars. In the blink of an eye, he was covered in blood. Jiang Feng struck out with both hands and struck Li Fan's chest, sending Li Fan flying. Li Fan's body smashed into the wall, causing dust to rise. Do you see? This is my power. Jiang Feng roared excitedly. If you were like Emperor Wu and could fight with me at my peak, I would admire you a little. Li Fan's voice came from the smoke. Following that, Li Fan swept his leg, dispersing the smoke. He stood in front of Jiang Feng with a body full of injuries. At the same time, streaks of lightning wandered around his body. Unfortunately, you only know how to play smart and wait for me to exhaust myself, letting Emperor Wu and the others exhaust my battle strength before you dare to fight with me. Li Fan entered the first stage of Heavenly Thunder transformation, doubling his strength. So, you are a good-for-nothing. Li Fan's words infuriated Jiang Feng. Shut up. Jiang Feng suddenly appeared in front of Li Fan, both palms slapping towards Li Fan's temples. Black Emperor subduing demon. Li Fan stretched out both hands and blocked Jiang Feng's palms. At the same time, he kicked forward with both feet, causing Jiang Feng to slide backward. Li Fan's kick had already caused Jiang Feng to stiffen. He then followed up, twisting his waist and unleashing a series of whirlwind kicks with perfect arcs, continuously kicking Jiang Feng's body. Flying Dragon Chasing the Moon. Li Fan used the dragon subduing platform beautifully. This set of leg techniques was almost unparalleled when used by him. He kicked Jiang Feng until he kept retreating, not even giving him time to counterattack. Azure Dragon Water Point 12 consecutive strikes. Li Fan unleashed another 12 stabbing kicks in a row, each strike hitting Jiang Feng's chest. With the Divine Fox strengthening his left leg, Li Fan's speed became even faster. In the blink of an eye, 12 depressions appeared on Jiang Feng's chest. He took a few steps back, clutched his chest, and then knelt on the ground. Even after being strengthened so much, Jiang Feng was still defeated by Li Fan. "No, I can't accept this," Jiang Feng muttered to himself. At this moment, a voice rang in his ears. "Give me your soul, I want more." That was the voice of Azura. Completely submitting to Azura was tantamount to giving up one's humanity and submitting to Azura. This was a voice that only Jiang Feng, who was one with his heart and demon, could hear. He also knew that this was his last chance. "Take it away!" Jiang Feng suddenly roared, "Take it all away! As long as I become stronger." The moment his voice fell, the Azura coat on his body suddenly collapsed. A naked British man stood in the middle of the stage. But very quickly his skin began to turn black, and red Azura tattoos covered his entire body. A terrifying aura instantly spread out. "Quickly take them away." Li Fan sensed that something was wrong. He immediately channeled some inner strength to Saintus and the rest. "Quickly leave, the further the better." But there were even more martial artists present. Teresa was also on the spectator stand, looking extremely weak. Looking at Windsor in the distance, her face was also pale. Number 9 seemed to be fine. He also sensed that something was wrong. He carried Windsor, turned around and jumped out of the arena. Although the remaining people wanted to kill Li Fan was not willing to let them die here. If these people died, perhaps the Chinese pugilistic world would also be finished. Expand. Li Fan operated the Tai Chi diagram and spread out his strength instantly. Waves of inner strength spread out and instantly entered the bodies of the surrounding martial artists, giving them the strength to use Qinggong. "I suddenly have strength. Everyone quickly run." Everyone felt an unprecedented terror from Jiang Feng. They quickly ran out of the arena. And Saintus did not hesitate, pulling Luo Xuewu and the rest, and fled towards the secret passage that had been prepared beforehand. Luo Xuewu did not struggle. She knew that if she stayed now, she would only be a burden to Li Fan. A group of people fled frantically, and Jiang Feng finally opened his eyes. His pupils turned white, and the corner of his mouth hung a somewhat perverted smile. Chapter 1646. Jiang Feng. Li Fan suddenly steps forward and kicks his face. "Pa!" Li Fan's calf is grabbed by Jiang Feng as he laughs strangely. "Ji, can this even be called a kick? It's too weak." With that, Jiang Feng grabs Li Fan's calf and throws him out. Li Fan doesn't have the time to dissipate this force and is directly smashed into the ground at the side, leaving a gully. "Aya, there's someone else?" Jiang Feng suddenly appears in front of an Amei disciple who is fleeing in panic. That Amei disciple is panicking and quickly stretches out her hand to her sect leader, wanting to ask for help. But Yu Ruing runs faster than anyone else. This sect leader is displaying their sect's white horse treading on snow martial art to the fullest, almost exceeding his level. He simply doesn't care about his own disciple, and in a blink of an eye, he disappears from the disciple's sight. The disciple collapses, but Jiang Feng is already in front of him. With a stretch of his hand, his claw directly grabs the disciple's skull. Before the disciple can react, she has already been sucked dry and then thrown to the ground. "Ah, it's quite delicious." Jiang Feng's smile is even more perverted as he licks his lips. "Is there anything more delicious? Oh, there's even a foreign girl." Jiang Feng's gaze falls on the wall. Windsor is lying there, secretly taking pictures with her camera. In a blink of an eye, Jiang Feng has already appeared on the top of the wall, which is dozens of meters high, looking at Windsor in front of him. "Get lost." Number 9 suddenly kicks Jiang Feng, but his ankle is grabbed by Jiang Feng again. "Aya, there is a person with a strange taste here. But your energy seems to be quite nutritious." As Jiang Feng speaks, his claw grabs towards Number 9's chest. Number 9's chest is scratched, but he turns into his half-dragon form and directly grabs Jiang Feng's body and throws him back to the stage. And at this moment, Li Fan suddenly appears behind Jiang Feng. He raised his leg high up, and with a dragon-shaped aura, he struck Jiang Feng's lower back. Bang! Jiang Feng was kicked into the auditorium, and one side of the auditorium collapsed from the impact. Not bad. Jiang Feng pushed away the rubble as if nothing had happened and jumped out. This kick is quite strong. Now it's my turn, right? He suddenly let out a wild laugh, then leaped up, his claws constantly clawing at Li Fan. Li Fan used the dragon-subduing platform and combined it with the Thunder Dragon Saber. He exchanged more than 10 moves with Jiang Feng in an instant. Bang! Li Fan was actually at a disadvantage. Jiang Feng's palm landed on his chest, sending him flying like a cannonball and smashing into the ground, creating a crater. Ha! Jiang Feng actually opened his mouth and spat out a black-red shockwave that blasted onto Li Fan's body. Li Fan felt a tearing pain in his body. He opened his mouth and spat out a mouthful of blood. Jiang Feng in his berserk state is a little abnormal. Am I going to lose? At this moment, Li Fan felt deeply unreconciled. In reality, it wasn't as if he wanted to explode the pocket universe. He was currently facing a huge crisis. If he didn't think of a way to deal with it, there would be endless troubles in the future. Use my power. Miss White Tiger's voice sounded in Li Fan's ears. Jiang Feng has submitted to the Azura's power. The Azura's weakness is its soul. Li Fan instantly understood. Fuck, it was fortunate that Miss White Tiger was here. Otherwise, he really wouldn't be able to settle this matter. Li Fan propped up his body and stood up from the pit. He consumed the last few spring-returning pills, then stretched out his hand, allowing the White Tiger's power to condense in his hand. A white divine bow appeared in Li Fan's hand. He completely concentrated his mental power, and his whole body was in a state of excitement. With a flick of his feet, he suddenly retreated and appeared on the 10-meter-high spectator's stand at the side. Jiang Feng was standing at the spot where he had just stood, licking his claws. You run very fast. He suddenly frowned and instantly moved more than 10 meters away. Li Fan's arrow actually missed. The White Tiger's arrow directly hit the opponent's soul, but the prerequisite was to lock onto the opponent's aura. But in an instant, the aura of the berserk Jiang Feng actually disappeared. Ah, so dangerous. Jiang Feng stared at the White Tiger divine bow in Li Fan's hand. The thing in your hand seems to be quite dangerous. Can you put it down? Li Fan continued to track Jiang Feng's aura and continuously pulled the bowstring. But Jiang Feng continued to hide the moment Li Fan shot the arrow. His aura disappeared along with him, causing Li Fan to lose his target again. The opponent was like a wild beast, possessing a high level of vigilance and concealment ability. Jijiji, you can't catch me. Jiang Feng suddenly appeared behind Li Fan and clawed at his chest. But Li Fan allowed Jiang Feng to claw at his chest. Jiang Feng suddenly froze. A red tail extended out from behind Li Fan and wrapped around his body, binding him. You can't escape, friend. As Li Fan spoke, he continuously pulled the White Tiger divine bow and shot the arrows one by one into Jiang Feng's soul as if he was firing a gun. Jiang Feng retreated continuously and finally fell from the high platform. He fell to the ground and smashed into a cloud of dust. He lay there, his expression twitching for a long time, as if he was in extreme pain. After an unknown amount of time, he finally regained some consciousness. He looked at Li Fan, who was standing above him with cold sweat on his forehead. I still lost in the end. Looks like I didn't use this berserk power well enough. My opponent's bow and arrows have a very strong restraining ability. I have to be careful next time. Li Fan, I will definitely win against you. As Jiang Feng spoke, he suddenly transformed into a black light and fled far away from the stage. And his subordinates had long fled when he went berserk. Jiang Feng still had to go back and reorganize his troops, so he could only leave in a hurry. But it's finally over. Li Fan also heaved a sigh of relief. This battle was really too hard. 2 days ago, there was a sea of people in the martial arts arena, but today, there was not a single person left. Li Fan looked at the martial arts arena that was almost in ruins and deeply felt the terror of power. Looks like, other than Beyond Avalon, Martial Emperor, Jiang Feng has also become a very big threat. Thinking of this, Li Fan raised his head and looked at number 9 who was above his head. "Why are you looking at me?" Number 9 snorted. "I will not join hands with you. You seem to know me very well." Li Fan laughed bitterly. "I don't know you." Number 9 coldly replied. "If you want to protect these people, then become stronger yourself. It won't be long before I go and challenge you again." With that, number 9 carried Windsor and left the martial arts arena once again. "This guy is too hard to get close to. Did he really extract the gene from my body?" Li Fan shook his head. Just as he was about to leave, Jade appeared out of nowhere and blocked his way. Chapter 1647. Do you want to fight, friend? Li Fan looked at Jade in front of him and asked directly. "I have a rule that I cannot fight with you." Jade looked at Li Fan with disdain. "Otherwise, with your current state, if I wanted to kill you, it would be easy." "Are you sure?" Li Fan laughed. "Since you are so sure and can get rid of a big problem for Sky Beyond Sky, why don't you give it a try? Come, kill me. Maybe those people above you will reward you or even promote you to a higher level deity." Jade's mouth twitched. He seemed to be holding back something and did not make a move. Li Fan was just testing him. He was also looking for the hidden secrets of Sky Beyond Sky. "You don't dare to fight? You are so timid, you don't even dare to fight with an injured person?" Li Fan felt that Jade was getting weirder and weirder. He continued to provoke Jade. "You don't have to provoke me, I will definitely not violate the rules." Jade emphasized, "The orders from above are absolute. If I go against it, I will suffer a destructive punishment." "So that's the case, since you are not going to fight, why are you not scram?" "Too rude." Jade scolded. "I am only here to warn you, don't go against my Sky Beyond Sky. Otherwise, we will first destroy your city and use you as a warning to those who try to resist us." "How do you want to destroy my city?" Li Fan raised his eyebrows. "What? A group of Sky Beyond Sky that do not even dare to come down also dare to cause trouble in my city? I already said, don't look down on the power of my Sky Beyond Sky." Jade laughed coldly. "You will see soon enough." After saying these words of warning, Jade turned and left the battle arena. Not long after he left, he came to a room and saw the martial emperor sitting cross-legged there. "How is your recovery?" "About 78. The martial emperor let out a breath of turbid air. "Li Fan's strength is indeed powerful. If I did not cultivate the true immortal technique, I would not be his opponent." The martial emperor could not help but admit that Li Fan was a strong opponent. His strength was right in front of him, and it had become a huge stumbling block for him to rule the kingdom. If we want to get rid of Li Fan, we have to get rid of his forces as well. Jade warned the martial emperor. After this, Li Fan will probably return to the Li family island. The martial emperor asked, "How should we eliminate his entire force?" "I need time, and I need even stronger techniques. With our current strength, there is no way to defeat Li Fan." The true immortal technique had almost been cultivated to the point of perfection by the martial emperor. You did not dare to let him learn any more profound techniques. Actually, the true immortal art was divided into 2 volumes. The first volume was further divided into 7 parts. Moreover, there were some loopholes and flaws in it. After that, it was released into the mortal realm with the intention of provoking a war in the mortal realm. Don't worry, the higher-ups have already approved the use of the immortal ascension pill. As you spoke, she took out a small porcelain bottle. Immortal ascension pill? What is it? The martial emperor had a bad feeling about this. This is a type of pill developed by our Sky Beyond Heaven. As long as animals consume it, they can become immortals. Animals? The martial emperor was a little shocked. Animals can become immortals? To demonstrate, you took out a bulldog that was tied up in the room. This bulldog was originally very fierce, but after sensing the martial emperor's aura, it did not even dare to bark and could only lie there. You passed the pill over and fed it to the bulldog. The bulldog sniffed it twice, and seemed to be very interested. It stuck out its tongue and rolled the pill into its mouth, and chewed a few times. After a minute or two, the bulldog suddenly started wailing. It kept on trembling and twitching. Following that, its body started to emit a stench. At the same time, its body started to swell up. Its flesh and blood started to burst and fall onto the ground. It was extremely disgusting. Very quickly, a bulldog man slowly stood up from the ground. Saliva was still dripping from his mouth. It has already surpassed itself and evolved. You said, it has a very high IQ and will quickly learn the human language. We can nurture this kind of army and let them fight for us. So that's how it is. The martial emperor nodded. So that's how those beastmen from the West came about? That's right. Back then, we were the ones who planted this seed in the West. In the end, they evolved too quickly and had the desire for peace. They broke away from their killing machine nature. Thus, we slightly modified the new generation Immortal Ascension Pill. How can this thing be called Immortal Ascension Pill? The martial emperor could not help but mock. I think it should be called Demon Transformation Pill. Regardless of what it is called, they are now your army. You reminded the martial emperor, the higher-ups have given you a quota of 100 people. These fellows all have the strength of immortal slaves. With over 100 of them, it should be enough for you to flatten Leaf Family Island, right? Do they all listen to my leadership? Of course, even though they only listen to you temporarily. You emphasize this point. After you flatten Leaf Family Island and carry out the plan to destroy the world, these troops will be taken back by us. They are really careful. The people from Sky Beyond Sky are really cautious. The martial emperor chuckled. His voice was filled with disdain. You should understand that this army is lent to you. You did not wish to argue with the martial emperor on this matter. In short, we need to carry out the destruction plan quickly and flatten Leaf Family Island. What's the rush? The martial emperor laughed coldly. If you want to flatten Leaf Family Island, other than your army, I can still borrow more people. Oh, is that possible? Of course. The martial emperor nodded. I have my own plans. Since that is the case, I shall wait to watch a good show. Leaf Fan had indeed returned to Leaf Family Island. With the appearance of many strong enemies, Leaf Fan became even more vigilant. While he was strengthening the island's construction, he was also nurturing his own army. China's martial arts world had already issued an official warrant for Li Fan's arrest. However, it was only limited to the martial arts world. At this moment, Li Fan was still on the phone with General Ran. That idiot, he actually wants our army to cooperate with you to issue a warrant for your arrest. What bullshit? General Ran scolded nonstop. We are really giving him face. Who does he think he is? Relying on his background to climb to that position, not to mention stirring up a mess, he even wants to issue a warrant for his arrest. You can rest assured that the army and the police will not do anything to you. But as for the martial arts world, sorry, brother, I can't say anything. But I think in China's martial arts world, there is probably no one who can beat you, brother, right? And, rest assured, as long as the government doesn't issue a warrant for my arrest, it's fine. What a joke, you are a meritorious minister. Only an idiot would want to issue a warrant for your arrest. You forced away a patriotism top expert. That surnamed Nyo, his head is filled with fucking shit. General Ran seemed to be really angry. He kept cursing and swearing nonstop. Chapter 1648. Li Fan first comforted General Ran. He felt that General Ran was even angrier than him. However, Li Fan was very open-minded. The government had not officially issued a warrant for his arrest, so there was nothing to be afraid of. As for the arrest warrant from the headquarters, it was meaningless. The commander of the Royal Guards, Jiang Feng, was busy trying to remedy the crimes he had committed in the arena. However, his reputation was almost on par with that of the undying evil Buddha in the martial arts world. Everyone feared him to the extreme. As for the name Li Fan, the people of the martial arts world were also unwilling to mention it. Everyone wanted to kill this bastard who had the first 3 pages of the true immortal arts, but there was nothing they could do. Li Family Island was heavily guarded. Not only were there the Seven Knights Villa's sword guards, there were also the world-famous Li family mercenaries. In particular, Li Family Island had just exposed their black technology. They were equipped with 10 great sword guards, humanoid mechas. This was simply too terrifying. Since the last time Number 9 defeated the first generation of mechas, Bai Lin Luo led the scientists to remodel a new batch of humanoid mechas. These humanoid mechas were made to be 5 meters tall. Although they were not as huge as before, they were much more flexible. Moreover, this set of humanoid mechas was controlled by spiritual power. With a set of spiritual power support system, one could easily pilot the mechas. When you were in seclusion, the great sword guards also participated in the landing battle of Bei as Chinese mercenaries. Lu Zhu, who was wearing a butler's suit, stood in front of Li Fan and introduced the achievements of this set of mechas. We dispatched a total of 4 mechas and easily disintegrated an armored division of Bei's troops. Bei's troops probably don't have much combat power, so they can't be used as a reference. Li Fan laughed. But since everyone values this set of mechas, it's good. Currently, Bai Lin Luo is helping you develop a set of mechas that can enhance your combat power. Lu Zhu continued, we watched the battle video of the martial emperor. We think that the so-called immortals cultivate their own dharma bodies to participate in battles. Based on modern technology and the research of superpowers, we should be able to develop this kind of mecha that can replace the dharma bodies. As long as you pilot it, it should have the same effect as the dharma bodies. There's such black technology? Then I really have to take a look. Li Fan became interested. Speaking of which, you clearly took a leave for a period of time. How do you know more about this than me? Even if I took a leave, I didn't neglect my work. Lu Zhu winked at Li Fan. Jun Shang, then we will move to the development agency. Master knew that you would definitely go, so he was prepared. And let's go. Let's go. Li Fan waved his hand and was ready to set off. At this time, he had already moved out of his previous office and moved into the newly completed Jun Shang Fu. Rather than calling it a mansion, it was more appropriate to call it a castle. Fan it, lush, the front of a castle. It was more than the mountain. The mountain. To Fan, there was Li. In addition to Li Fan's residence, a part of the castle was open to the public. Tourists could enter and visit the castle. Accommodation and food were provided, but the cost was higher. Li Fan understood that Little Four Eyes was killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Not only did he build his reputation, he also used it to make money. Master, please get in. The beautiful female bodyguard, Nova, had a long braid. She stood downstairs and opened the door for Li Fan. In Nova's eyes, Li Fan saw a kind of fanaticism and worship. It had to be said that Little Four Eyes brainwashing was very effective. Although Li Fan didn't agree with it. But for the current Li Jiadao, this plan was indeed the most effective. It's Li Family Island's master. Master is on a journey. I need to take a picture. Wow, so impressive. Li Fan's motorcade was followed by 4 escort cars. As soon as his motorcade came out, a lot of tourists became excited and took pictures. Look, you're so popular now. Lu Zhu said to Li Fan with a laugh. It's all an empty reputation. Li Fan was a bit embarrassed. My goal in making this island wasn't to become famous. But you're the spiritual symbol of Li Family Island. Lu Zhu reminded Li Fan, especially after that martial arts competition, your name has already resounded in the world. The current you can be said to be the real number 1 in the world. I don't dare to be number 1 in the world. Li Fan shook his head. There are many people in the world who are much stronger than me, especially the sky beyond heaven. It's said that there are 10 celestial immortals. Each of them is 100 times stronger than me. Even if I use some special abilities, the difference is still more than 10 times. Thunder transformation is just an emergency measure. With Li Fan's personality, he doesn't like to rely on this kind of short-term strengthening to ensure his strength. This way, he doesn't feel safe. If he had enough time, he would really like to properly cultivate. It's a pity that he can't go to that landscape painting anymore. Otherwise, That place would really be too good for cultivation. Don't worry about this. Chief Bai knows what you need. He has already helped you develop a more efficient seclusion place. This can also be done. Li Fan was a bit surprised. And when we get there, Chief Bai will personally introduce you to it. That's good. With Bai Lin Luo helping me, I can save a lot of trouble. Li Fan sighed with emotion. What about me? Lu Zhu raised her eyebrows and asked. Haha, you're also my indispensable right-hand man. Li Fan laughed. We're all brothers. Why are you still being jealous in this aspect? Brother, you're just fooling people with these words. Cough cough. Then, are we arriving soon? We're still far away. Lu Zhu rolled her eyes. At this moment, the phone in the car rang. She picked it up and listened. Then she pressed the phone and asked Li Fan. Someone wants to see you. Who? A U.S. woman named Windsor. Arrange a meeting. Li Fan muttered in his heart. Why does this girl want to see me? Where is suitable to meet? Pick her up in this car. Li Fan was now sitting in a family VIP car. It was very spacious inside and he could directly work in it. Okay, I'll arrange it. Lu Zhu gave some instructions on the phone. Soon, the car arrived at the Foreign Affairs office and picked up the little girl, Windsor, on the car. Wow, it's really the island owner. After Windsor got on the car, she took a few photos with her camera. Why you here? Li Fan looked at the little girl in front of him. Shouldn't number 9 follow you at all times? Why did he let you out alone? I slipped out. Don't tell him. Chapter 1649. I want to talk to you about cooperation. Windsor looks at Li Fan confidently. Lu Zhu takes out a bottle of red wine from the refrigerator next to her and pours it for them. Windsor glanced at Lu Zhu and frowned slightly. She seemed to see something, but she didn't speak. Cooperation? What cooperation? Li Fan raised his glass and looked at Windsor with interest. What do you need me to cooperate with you? Why can't I? Are you looking down on me? Windsor looked at Li Fan with dissatisfaction. I am also a well-known reporter. Oh, you want to get some first-hand information from me? Windsor nodded. I heard that you have a lot of weapons of mass destruction, but you do a good job of keeping the information confidential. So I want to get the exclusive right to report. Weapons of mass destruction, it depends on how you define it. Li Fan laughed. The armaments developed by our Li family island are never used on the battlefield of injustice. How do you define justice? Windsor asked directly. For example, the mercenaries of the Li family island are famous all over the world. They fight on various battlefields and stained with countless blood. Is that all justice? As long as it can end those endless wars, it is justice. Li Fan said without hesitation. If you are here to criticize me, it is okay. I accept any criticism. It is your business to criticize me, but it is my business whether I take it to heart or not. You are indeed the number 9 gene owner. In some aspects, you two are really alike. Windsor curled her lips. Both of you are fanatical warmongers. You are wrong about this. Li Fan immediately retorted. I like to compete, but I am against war. The reason why the powerful mercenaries of the Li family island are trained is to protect the safety of the Li family island. I don't say anything else. At present, the crime index of the Li family island is the lowest in the world. Because everyone who goes to the Li family island knows how serious the consequences will be if they commit a crime on the Li family island. In the Li family island, all crimes will be severely punished. For example, if you tried to steal, your finger would be cut off. On this point, Bai Lin Luo and Li Fan had a dispute. According to Bai Lin Luo's opinion, the Li family island was still under construction, so it was not suitable to use a heavy punishment. It should be recuperating, attracting immigrants and foreign businessmen, and vigorously developing the economy. However, Li Fan's opinion was that it was necessary to establish a truly lawful country. There was no need to show any mercy to criminals. What the Li family island needed were real construction talents, not people who acted like chickens and dogs. Moreover, the welfare of the Li family island's immigrants was also very high. This was equivalent to using both carrot and stick. Currently, the Li family island was on the path of sound development. Windsor retracted her gaze when she saw a guard in a reaper suit walking by the street. This is terrifying militarism. History has already proven that this is wrong. Indulgence is the best breeding ground for criminals. Li Fan disagreed. Moreover, I'm not a militarist. Militarism means that everyone is a soldier and everyone is in danger. However, I'm not implementing any reign of terror. The biggest thing about the Li family island is the law. Even I have to abide by it. In China, there is a saying, without rules, nothing can be accomplished. Our America also rules the country by law. There are as many laws as there are hairs on an ox, and the regulations are extremely detailed. However, Windsor reminded Li Fan. But you see, there are still a lot of criminal records in the United States. This proves that strict laws are useless. We should be light on laws and focus on civil rights. Little girl, you still have some resemblance to our 100 schools of thought. Li Fan laughed. Our Li family island focuses on laws and civil rights. But when I came here, I saw that everyone here worships you blindly and is extremely fanatical. There are even many young people who are willing to sacrifice their lives for you. Ahem, this might be because I'm too outstanding. Bah! You reporter, how can you be so rude? Nova turned her head and glared at Windsor. If you dare to be disrespectful to my lord again, don't blame me for being impolite. I'm used to talking to number 9. Windsor couldn't help but stick out her tongue. Li Fan looked exactly like number 9. She couldn't help but take out the tone and attitude she usually used when talking to number 9. It doesn't matter. I'm not that kind of dictatorial warlord. If you talk to me normally, I won't get angry. Nova, focus on driving. Yes, my lord. Speaking of which, you're really a strange person. Windsor muttered, after seeing you on the martial arts field, I felt that you shouldn't be a bad person. But what are you fighting for? What is the sky beyond heaven that you're talking about? Windsor finally talked about the main topic. Li Fan didn't avoid it. If you're a reporter, I can't tell you what's going to happen next. But if you're just a friend who wants to communicate with me, I can talk to you so that your number 9 can make some preparations in advance. If it's valuable news, I want everyone to know. This is their right. If you've heard my story, you might not think so. Li Fan drank a mouthful of red wine and handed the glass to Lu Zhu. The story is a bit long. It just so happens that the car will be driving for a while. You can slowly listen to it. Li Fan also intended to cooperate with number 9. Therefore, he also wanted to be frank with Windsor and win her favor. He told the story of Sky Beyond Heaven. Windsor looked at him with a dumbfounded expression. You aren't making up a story, right? Haven't you seen the power that Martial Emperor showed? Li Fan said. He used the spell that Sky Beyond Heaven passed on to him. In order to occupy the earth, Sky Beyond Heaven wanted to start a plan to destroy humanity. And each country probably doesn't have the power to deal with Sky Beyond Heaven. They won't cooperate with me. Because for them, compared to Sky Beyond Heaven, I'm more like a threatening big tiger. If what you said is true, then aren't we humans facing a destructive crisis? Yes, but do you dare to tell such a thing to the people? Li Fan sighed. If it is publicized, I'm afraid that a group of people will take the opportunity to come out and make trouble tomorrow. The society will be in turmoil, and the government will immediately lose credibility. At that time, I'm afraid it will be even more difficult to deal with Sky Beyond Heaven. Number 9 and I will help you. Windsor decided. Although I don't quite agree with your militarism, in order to protect humanity, there are some things that can only be done by you. I'll do my best. After all, there are many people here who I cherish. Li Fan said and put his arm around Lu Zhu's shoulder. Moreover, I already have a group of brothers around me to help me. Lu Zhu bowed her head shyly. Windsor's expression also became a bit ambiguous. Fuck, we're not what you think we are. Chapter 1650. Li Fan takes Windsor all the way to the Development Bureau. Hello, Miss Windsor. Bai Lin Luo is wearing a white coat and has been waiting here for a long time. When he saw Windsor, he bowed slightly to her. Hey, do you know me? I've learned some information about you. Bai Lin Luo winks at Windsor. Don't underestimate our Li Family Island's intelligence agency. Really? Windsor looks at Bai Lin Luo provocatively. Then do you know what information I want to exchange with you this time? I'm afraid it's some information that is not good for our Li Family Island. Bai Lin Luo doesn't take it seriously. Although the Li Family Island's intelligence department is good, it can't cover all aspects. Miss Windsor, if your information is valuable, we are naturally willing to make a fair exchange with you. Bai Lin Luo's answer is very appropriate. Windsor can't find any fault. Humph, it's good that you know. In the words of your Huaxia people, I'm a famous reporter. How can I lose to you in terms of intelligence? These words sound strange. The people present all hold back their laughter and don't burst out. Since it's a beautiful misunderstanding, let's let the misunderstanding go to the end. Well, Miss Famous Journalist, let's see the great sword guards that you are interested in. Li Fan coughs twice and let Bai Lin Luo lead the way. He leads Windsor to the Development Bureau to see a set of great sword guards that are being improved. The first generation of great sword guards is 5.3 meters tall and weighs 3.5 tons. Bai Lin Luo was wearing his trademark glasses. He pointed at a huge humanoid mecha in front of him and said, however, the previous generation's great sword guardians were still not agile enough. So, we're considering if we should continue to reduce the height and weight of the great sword guardians to make them more agile. This kind of large humanoid mecha is certainly not flexible enough. Li Fan shakes his head. I think we can improve the training of the pilots so that they can practice a set of professional and simple tactical skills. Your method is also valuable. We will consider it comprehensively. The relationship between Bai Lin Luo and Li Fan was very close. There was no such thing as a superior and subordinate relationship. Their conversation also made Windsor feel that the bond between them was not shallow. With such a cooperative Li Family Island, it would really be a little difficult for the outside world to destroy them. Currently, the most important thing is still the development of your Celestial Sovereign title. As Bai Lin Luo spoke, he pointed to the side. Come with me, I'll show you. Are you still developing a new generation of mecha? Windsor felt that the combat effectiveness of the Great Sword Guards was already very terrifying. Li Jiadao actually wanted to continue to invent more powerful weapons of mass destruction? Yes, it's for my personal use. Li Fan smiled. In order to deal with a group of powerful enemies, I have to equip myself. Do you still need armor? Windsor was a little speechless. This guy was obviously very powerful. It's always good to have a little more power, but this is also the last resort. Li Fan just gave himself 2 more insurance. Thunder Change was an insurance, and this Dharmakaya mecha was also an insurance. That is also a weapon. Then do you want to see it? Yes. Windsor eagerly followed Li Fan and others to the research room of the Dharmakaya mecha, Celestial Sovereign. In the research room, there was a black and white mecha with golden dragon patterns. This mecha was about 4 meters high. It imitated the shape of a human and was made of some kind of alloy. It exuded a kind of atmosphere of the metal era. This is the Celestial Sovereign, made of super nanomaterials. Bai Lin Luo introduced to Li Fan, the Celestial Sovereign is equipped with a brand new and customized spiritual power operating system. It can completely transform your power and run it on the mecha. Well, can this kind of thing really be done? Li Fan expressed doubt. But after Bai Lin Luo explained, Li Fan understood. Do you remember the nanocore? America's Zeus project and Jiang Feng's body were both implanted with nanocore. Oh, I understand. Li Fan was not a fool. After hearing Bai Lin Luo's explanation, he understood. Well, this system works in reverse. The nanocore is implanted in the mecha to receive the energy in your body. At the same time, through the unique nano-enhancement technology, your strength can be increased by a certain amount. But at present we can only increase the multiplier to 5 times. It should be able to continue to increase it to achieve the effect of 10 times. If it can really achieve 10 times, then it will be amazing. Li Fan was a little excited when he heard this. 10 times the effect, just like his heavenly thunder transformation. Moreover, this mecha did not have any side effects. As long as the mecha was not damaged, he could always exert 10 times the strength. Bai Lin Luo really knew him too well. This was timely. At present, only 7 nanocore have been implanted. If we can find a way to implant more, we should be able to achieve 10 times the effect. Bai Lin Luo continued. But this process requires a lot of calculations. Every time we add a core, it will double the calculation process. With our current technology, it will probably take some time before we can break through this field. This thing, can it be mass-produced? Li Fan could not help but ask. Bai Lin Luo shook his head. This kind of nanocore requires a lot of resources. Li Jiadao has used up almost all of our resources to build this one. The remaining materials also need to be used for daily repair and maintenance. In other words, this thing is more precious than Dragon God number 1. China's Dragon God number 1 used a lot of resources. It was almost a war machine that was built with money. It was almost impossible to build another Dragon God number 2. This immortal has also been inputted with your genetic code. Other than you, no one else can operate it. Bai Lin Luo had specially added insurance for the immortal. Li Fan could not help but praise Bai Lin Luo. This kid thought too much. Basically, he had already prepared everything he could think of. And he had also done everything he could not think of. With such a left and right hand, how could he not be satisfied? Can I test it first? Li Fan could not help but feel an itch in his heart. Of course, a simple test can still be done. Bai Lin Luo nodded and then ordered people to start testing the mecha. Then he extended his hand. Yes, the control method is very simple. Just rely on your spiritual power. The front hatch of the mecha sprang open, and a cockpit appeared in front of Li Fan. Li Fan jumped directly into the cockpit. As soon as he entered, a helmet was directly placed on his head, and the cockpit retracted into the mecha. Immortal, requesting spiritual connection. Chapter 1651. Li Fan stands in the immortal sovereign and hears a mechanical female voice asking him if he wants to conduct the spiritual connection. Allow. Genetic code confirmed. Spiritual connection activated. Immortal sovereign activated. After a series of voices, Li Fan, who originally had his eyes closed, suddenly feels the world in front of him brighten up. Through the spiritual connection, he is actually using the mech's eyes to observe the outside world. Li Fan stretches out his hands. Looking at his fully armed metal arms and the short Bai Lin Luo, Windsor, and the others in front of him, he is pleasantly surprised. This is too awesome. Bai Lin Luo is simply a genius imaginator. Then, he uses Li Family Island's technology to turn his imagination into reality. Beginning energy acquisition. Energy reserve at 100%. In front of Li Fan is a data page. Next to it is a row of energy symbols, showing his energy reserve. Junshang, when you use this mech, because you want to increase your strength by 5 times, your energy consumption is also 5 times. Bai Lin Luo reminds him, therefore, you must control your energy output. Don't be too unrestrained. Understood. Bai Lin Luo claps his hands. The door next to him opens, revealing an armored vehicle. Let's use this for the strength test. Bai Lin Luo says, the armored vehicle is made of superalloy. Ordinary missiles can't penetrate it. Li Fan nods his head. With a leap of his feet, he immediately jumps in front of the armored vehicle. Sure enough, it is 5 times strengthening. Fortunately, he has already done intensive training. Otherwise, it would be a bit difficult to adapt. Although he is operating a mech, Li Fan feels that it is no different from controlling his own body. The mech is very flexible. Wherever he points, it hits without any delay. Azure Dragon Water Touch. With a stab of his leg, Li Fan directly kicked through the armored vehicle. The armored vehicle hangs on the leg of the immortal sovereign and is once again split open by his leg. Satisfying. Looking at the armored vehicle that he had destroyed, Li Fan felt a burst of excitement. He stretches out his left hand. His palm immediately gathers a huge amount of internal force. Dragon-spitting pearl. A white gas bead with a diameter of 1 meter directly flew out. With a thud, it pierced through the wall of the laboratory and then through several other walls, flying to a 10-story building that had just been built 300 meters away. Rumble. The tall building was instantly destroyed and collapsed with a loud bang. Li Fan was dumbfounded, and so was Bai Lin Luo. Hey, you just spent tens of millions of dollars. Bai Lin Luo did not know whether to laugh or cry. If it weren't for the fact that our mercenaries and the tourism industry are doing well, we would have gone bankrupt. My fault, Li Fan laughed dryly. He couldn't help but test his inner force. All right. This thing is indeed very powerful. Let's not test it. Once it's completed, I'll use it to defend against enemies. How terrifying! Windsor couldn't help feeling a little scared. Even some small countries might not be able to resist this kind of combat ability, right? Even if it was the United States, if Li Fan drove this thing in and made a scene, I'm afraid there would be countless casualties. Fortunately, Li Fan didn't have the idea of dominating the world. Otherwise, it would really be a disaster for all mankind. This was only half of the mecha's performance. The complete function had not been developed yet. Once it was perfect, what would it be like? Next is the training room. Bai Lin Luo ordered the workers to repair the wall. He took Li Fan and Windsor, who was visiting, to the next place. Because the training room involves some energy operation, it can only be built in the laboratory. If you want to practice in seclusion, you can only come to this place. Well, I'll practice when the time comes, and let my avatar handle other things for me. Once Li Fan entered the state of practice, he could let the inner force run naturally in his body, and then his avatar could handle the work of Li Jiadao under his own consciousness. After all, Li Fan couldn't do two things at the same time like Murong. Her method was really too powerful. Ordinary people really couldn't learn it. Li Fan thought about it. He guessed that Nine-Tailed Divine Fox could do it too. After all, she was schizophrenic. I used Dragon Ball as a reference for the building of the training room. Bai Lin Luo explained to Li Fan as they walked, we can't slow down time in the training room. It's too mythical. Technology can't achieve it at the moment. But it's still possible to change the gravity in the room. That's why I suddenly thought that if I let you practice in this kind of high-gravity environment, your progress might be even faster. It's worth a try. Li Fan nodded and followed him to the front of the gravity room. The gravity room wasn't big. It was a semicircle, like an upside-down pot. There were pipes around the house, which seemed to be used to change the gravity environment inside. Currently, the training room can achieve 50 times the gravity. Bai Lin Luo continued, it should be able to improve in the future, but it still needs a certain amount of time to operate. You guys have too much black technology. Li Family Island is really not an ordinary place. Windsor couldn't help but ask, I don't think I can report it. Once it's reported, your information may be leaked to those guys who want to destroy the world. Child, you've grown up. Li Fan's praise made Windsor roll her eyes. Well, although I didn't get anything, I still have something to tell you. Windsor seemed to have thought it through. The person called Martial Emperor in China has contacted all of your enemies. They are preparing to attack Li Family Island. This is a very important information. Bai Lin Luo immediately asked, how do you know? Of course I have my own information source. I can't tell you. Windsor remained mysterious. But for this information, what are you going to use to pay for it? Do you need money? Of course not. The US government pays a lot of money to support me and number 9 every year. It's really a difference of treatment. Li Fan couldn't help but curl his lips. Then what do you want? Just take it as you owe me a favor. Windsor thought for a moment and then said, when I need it, you can pay it back to me. Thank you very much. Our Li family island will remember this kindness. Li Fan thought for a moment. If number 9 wants to learn some martial arts, he can come to me at any time. I'm afraid not. Windsor knew number 9 too well. He will never agree. He has his own way of fighting. That's true. I'm too talkative. Since you're here, you can play here for a few days. Li Fan said proudly. Our Li family island has the world's largest amusement park, which is divided into 7 scenic areas. You can play for 3 days and 3 nights without finishing it. Next time. This time I sneaked out. Number 9 must be looking for me all over the world. Well, thank you again. After saying goodbye to Windsor, Li Fan couldn't wait to enter the training room. Chapter 1652. A martial emperor was very strong, especially after practicing the true immortal technique. And according to Windsor's intelligence, he had even contacted Jiang Feng this time. He was leading the heroes of the world and a group of volunteers from the United States to attack the Li family island. All these enemies together were very strong. If he lost, the Li family island that he had worked so hard to build would probably be gone. Li Fan asked Ling Tian to start investigating further. Based on the speed at which Martial Emperor and the others gathered and mobilized people, it would take at least 2 months to prepare to enter the Li family island. During these 2 months, Li Fan was racing against time to train in seclusion. After sending Windsor off, Li Fan entered the training room. In the training room, there was a nanomachine that was about the same height as Li Fan. This nanomachine was also used for training. In the training room, it could simulate any expert whose data had been recorded and fight against Li Fan. Because it was a gravitational space, Li Fan would be restrained by gravity. But the nanomachine had an anti-gravity system, so it strengthened the strength of the nanomachine from another aspect. In this training room, it could reach the strength of a martial emperor and the others. Li Fan was currently using 20 times the gravity. He was practicing boxing in the room to train himself. Training in such a place was indeed very draining, and the effects were doubled. Even meditating and regulating one's breath would require a lot of effort to complete. This was because Li Fan's meditation method was different from ordinary people. Unlike ordinary people, who just needed to sit cross-legged and look down. But Li Fan had to stand on one leg with one hand facing the sky and the other facing the ground in order to make the Taiji diagram operate fully. In addition, in order to coordinate with Li Fan's Taiji diagram, Bai Linluo set up 8 nanocores in 8 directions in the room. These 8 nanocores could absorb Li Fan's internal energy and then be sucked back into Li Fan's body. It could be said that Bai Linluo had thought of everything. In particular, the 8 nanocores recorded 8 different types of internal strength and energy. This was also suitable for Li Fan's Taiji painting to practice. Li Fan was racing against time. He spent almost every day in the training room. At first, it was 10 times, but now it was 20 times. After more than half a month, Li Fan used the walkie-talkie to ask the staff outside to change the training room to 30 times the gravity. As soon as the 30x gravity was activated, Li Fan immediately found it difficult to breathe. Under such gravity, ordinary humans would not be able to survive. Even Li Fan couldn't rely on his own physical strength to survive. He had to fill every cell in his body with inner force to strengthen his body and ensure that he could survive under 30 times the gravity instead of being squeezed into a meat patty. In this way, he could train his physical body and his inner force, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It took Li Fan another half a month to adapt to the 30-fold gravity. In this gravitational environment, he continued to train his fist technique. In the remaining month, Li Fan had the nano-robots act as the martial monarch. Although he couldn't change the robot's appearance, the robot's attack method immediately became the martial monarch's appearance. The nanocores on its body began to operate, and the robot reached the strength of a martial monarch under 30 times the gravity. It began to exchange blows with Li Fan. If one robot wasn't enough, Li Fan even asked them to send another robot over. He had the other robot maintain Jiang Feng's appearance and fight with him together with the martial monarch. In this training room, Li Fan perfectly fused his Thunder Dragon saber with the dragon subduing terrace, forming a new set of martial arts. Li Fan temporarily named it the Subduing Dragon Tiger Technique. While Li Fan was training hard, the martial monarch's 100 immortal slaves were also completed. He stood in a warehouse and looked at the 100 warriors with beast heads in front of him. They were drooling as they stood there, panting heavily. Just looking at them made one's scalp go numb. Your army has been completed. You stood beside the martial monarch, her voice was filled with pride. Every one of them has the strength of a grandmaster, they are definitely a huge fighting force in your hands. Some of the outstanding 10-man leaders have the strength of a half-saint. And this 100-man leader has the strength of a saint. A bear man stood there with his arms wide open. He roared, causing the entire warehouse to shake. The martial monarch was indeed a little shocked. He could casually nurture such a powerful fighting strength? Saint level? Half-saint level? Since you have the ability to nurture such an army, why do you need my help? This is an opportunity given to you by the skies beyond. I just want to test you. You said in all seriousness, you should cherish the opportunity we have given you. After all, we also want to recruit some talents that can help us. So it's like that, then I really have to thank you. The martial monarch sneered in his heart. Only a ghost would believe such a reason. Probably even the skies beyond would barely be able to take out 100 so-called immortal ascension pills. Furthermore, these so-called half-saints have the strength of a saint, which is actually an exaggeration. These 100 of them might seem to have decent fighting strength, but Li Fan alone can flatten them all. These things might be able to deal with normal experts, but against top experts like Li Fan and Jiang Feng, it is definitely not enough. The skies beyond may look strong, but in reality, they are just outwardly strong but inwardly weak. Perhaps in their territory, they are indeed powerful. Those heaven immortals can kill 100 of them with a single slap. But on earth, they can only obediently cooperate with him and listen to his opinion. Therefore, before they truly descend to earth, he must fight for the greatest benefits and also cultivate the strongest power. In this world, the weak are prey to the strong. This has always been the unchanging truth. The so-called cooperation and agreement are all nonsense. If he does not have absolute strength, those experts from the skies beyond can still turn hostile and ignore him. The army is ready. When do we trample over the Li family island? You asked. No rush. The martial monarch waved his hand. The troops from the various countries have not gathered yet. It is not too late to go to the Li family island when they are all here. Those people are just trash, why bring them along? The more power we have, the higher our chances of winning. The martial monarch looked coldly at you. If you still look down on the enemy Li Fan, then we can only terminate our cooperation. I am just afraid that a long delay will bring trouble. You was slightly unhappy. How much more time do you need? A month later, the army will trample over the Li family island. The martial monarch said in his heart, as long as Jiang Feng joins hands with him, along with the heroes of the pugilistic world, the elites of the various countries, and the secret help of the United States, he will definitely be able to trample over the Li family island. Li Fan, enjoy your remaining time. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.